Well, hello, everybody. My name is Ethan Collier, and I'll be chairing today's meeting of the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Commission. Before we get started, I got a couple things I want to go over. But as I said last time, which I was not here last time, I think there's some serious misunderstandings in regards to what we do here. And I say it over and over and over and over, but it seems to fall on deaf ears. So I'm going to try again to get somebody else to say it. Zeka, can you come up here? So Zeka, I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to talk into this microphone, and you're going to tell people what we're doing here today, because we have elected officials who I don't think understand what we do. Okay. And I don't know how that's possible. Some of them have been in office for years, and I feel like if you tell them, maybe they'll understand. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you questions. Everybody pay really close attention because it's really important. So, Planning Commission has received this packet in the mail a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, along with all the applicants that made cases. They received their information. And what do you think Planning Commission's done with this packet since we got it?
I hope they have reviewed the material.
Okay. And what are we going to do here today? Just explain to everybody the process.
So the Planning Commission is going to hear from the applicant and also from the staff after having received a report from the RPA telling each case in detail and trying to come up with a motion whether or not to approve or deny each case.
Okay, so staff has made a recommendation,
right,
to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission is going to hear from the applicant, right, and the public in regards to the case. And then what are we going to do?
You're going to make a motion whether or not to approve, defer, or deny.
Okay, and what is that ultimately? So
it's a recommendation.
Recommendation to who?
To City Council
or
County Commission.
Okay, so we are a recommending body to the County Commission or the City Council.
Correct.
In most of these cases. And those cases are going to be heard when at County Commission and City Council.
At the next meeting, which is usually roughly 30 days from today.
Okay, yeah, it's next month.
Oh, yeah.
About 30 days from now.
Right.
And then one more thing. So I give the applicant some time to talk and the opposition some time to talk, or the public.
Right.
What are those time limits?
So my experience, I believe the applicant has about 2 minutes to speak at first.
Seven.
And opposition has about 9.
9
in total.
Yeah. And then the applicant has 2 minutes to come back up.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens if there's 20 people here in opposition that all want to speak?
Well, they need to line up over here. They need to understand what each person is saying. And whenever they come up with an argument, you want to make sure that it is a new argument and it's not something that we've heard before.
That's great. Zeka did a great job. Did Zeka miss anything?
I don't think so. I think he covered it pretty well.
No, he did cover it pretty well. I think there was one thing you missed. Oh, in every case, I'm going to read it off. And if you're here and you want to speak in regards to the case, make sure to raise your hand, because otherwise I won't know you're here. So I'm going to read off the case numbers, follow along in the agenda really closely. When I read off the case numbers, if you're here and you want to speak in regards to the case, make sure to raise your hand so that we know you're here and we give you an opportunity. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
You're going to do it again next month for us?
Oh, yeah, I'll do it.
Okay. Thank you. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and get started. Are there any changes to our agenda?
No.
Okay. All right. First item here under old business is case SVP-25-48. And this is preliminary plat for Magnolia Square subdivision lot 1 through 7, located at 7401 New Highway. Staff recommends to deny. Is there any opposition present?
Mr. Chairman, this is probably a change. We did recommend approve. After the staff report and packet went out, the applicant did make all the changes necessary For staff to recommend approval of this plat.
Okay. And there's no opposition present? Okay. Thank you. We have a motion to approve the staff recommendation, and it has been properly seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. This is the preliminary plat for Serenity Hill subdivision. And it's lots 1 through 14, located at 8425 Serenity Trail, and staff is recommended to approve. Is there any opposition present?
Mr. Chairman, we did receive emails in opposition to this case as well.
Okay. Thank you. The applicant present? Mr. Schultz?
Sure, this is a preliminary plat against a preliminary plat, not a final plat. This, for clarification, when these subdivision plats are submitted for review, if it's not RPA staff who reviews this, it's the Hamilton County Development Services team, including water quality, the engineering department, highway department, fire marshals. There's a whole team that looks at these. And they've reviewed this plat, had no comments. There's a few corrections that need to be made. Some of the opposition, I believe, is related to probably an inaccurate application being submitted to TDEC because there's sinkholes on this property, and some of the properties on Serenity Trail are on public wells. I believe opposition is going to speak to the application to TDEC being inaccurate. Reached out to Autumn Friday, who's the Hamilton County Water Quality and Engineer staff or member, and she had no problem with approving the preliminary plat at this point because she cannot approve a land disturbing permit until that's approved by TDEC for the injection wells. So if that's never approved by TDEC, this plat doesn't go forward. Also, you cannot get a land disturbing permit until you have a preliminary plat approved by this body. So this 14 lots, it does meet the requirements of subdivision regulations. Now, you want to approve it subject to TDEC approval of the injection wells. Some option, or you can prefer it. That's a good body. But as of right now, after talking to Autumn Friday this morning, she had no concerns with moving this forward as it's submitted.
Thank you. All right.
She works in development services. She's the director, I guess, deputy director of development services. She reviews engineering and water quality. And so she stated this morning, when this came up, I got an email from opposition about the application to TDEC being inaccurate, and the number of wells that are on somebody else's property. We have no authorization for that property, if it's 2 wells or 6 wells. They claim the application is inaccurate. So I reached out to Ms. Friday to see if she had a problem with the plat forward. She said no, but she won't issue the land disturbing permit until TDEC signs off on the injection. It's never approved by TDEC. This plat never goes forward.
Right, do you want to speak in regards to this? Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll go.
Do you care if I explain a couple of things?
Not at all.
So on these preliminary plats, just for the public's awareness, basically what we're charged to do as staff in the county is review it and see if it meets Hamilton County subdivision regulations and any other regulations that would be pertinent to the plat itself. On a plats are different than zoning cases. On zoning cases, you can actually make recommendations to the Board of Commissioners to go above and beyond what the regulations indicate. On plats, legally, all we can do is review it based off whatever regulations are on the book. At this time, we feel like the plat meets Hamilton County subdivision regulations and Hamilton County water quality regulations. Now, we know that there are some issues with TDEC side, and we know that they're in the process of trying to acquire that permit. So the applicant can speak more to it. And so, you know, I think personally, and I'd love to have a discussion about this, I would be open to deferring this until they meet TDEC regulations. I would also be open to conditional approval of them meeting TDEC regulations. I think we should have a discussion about that after we hear from everybody, but I just want the public to understand that the only thing that we can require of them is whatever is currently in the regulations. And so to go above and beyond that, it would take a decision by this body to change the subdivision regulations to be stricter than they are today. So that's what we're reviewing in this process.
The applicant has said that they want the opposition to go first. If you're here and you want to speak in regards to the case, come on up to the microphone. Make sure when you do come up to the microphone, you state your name and address for the record. And we do have 9 minutes to hear all the public comment on this thing. The clock over here is
Good afternoon, Michael Thomas, 702 Snowhill Road, also represent landowners in South Sarasota subdivision with this land, this development is going to go through in order to access this, because the backside of it is subject to a private easement and not be used for any purposes of the development. One of the issues that I have is that the Sarasota development restrictive covenants restrict the use of certain size vehicles going across Clarice. Unless they're going to build these houses with a pickup truck and nothing else, they're going to run afoul of the existing covenants and restrictions for the use of the road in order to access the subdivision. So, these existing restrictions that they've already done that, I'm not familiar with that. That's explaining. However, the question is, can the board ignore the existing covenants for use of the road? So we have an issue there that greatly concerns all of the inside the subdivision.
Can I interrupt real quick? Yeah. Just to give you clarification, covenants and restrictions are private, and so we're not a party to those covenants and restrictions, so that becomes a situation between either the HOA or the whatever group represents those covenants and restrictions. Can I have a private road or
that we had Mr. Addis looking into that this year. It was not specifically defined as if it was turned over, but seems to imply that it was turned over. But matters why. Oh, I completely agree with why I had Mr. Abbott come in, so I didn't. The next issue is the sinkhole on property. Ingram, who live at 6940 Clarice Drive, own the property on the backside of this development, and probably the largest single property line with the development. This is not one sinkhole, but a series of sinkholes for a spring water, a water spring that's only about 10 or 15 feet immediately under the ground. It is already showing signs of migration, and any disturbance of this, either through influence that might add more water to the stream itself, the existing stormwater runoff, is necessarily this flat is undulating in the sense that most of it does flow towards the retention. However, there is part that flows towards the sinkhole, and any disturbance that necessarily cause migration, dissemination issues, end up damaging the property too. One of the other issues is obviously more the county commission issue with respect to traffic. Again, development inside of a development inside of a development, overburden the development of the road. This time I go ahead and turn it over.
Good afternoon, Chair Collier, members of the commission, fellow residents, staff. My name is Patrick Hill. My wife and I, Sarah, have lived at 8416 Serenity Trail. Serenity Trail is a private road that runs really good. Runs right on the long block school. Anyway, the field in front of us, the front yard, is 14 lots. Underneath it's preliminary plat. With 6 of those lots sharing the property line with us directly in front of our home. There are 8 surrounding homes that surround this development, including ours, which rely on well water only. Serenity Trail is a private easement for ingress, egress only, maintained by the residents. I speak today on behalf of our neighbors opposing the subdivision. The plat has some errors. One of the plat errors is a power line easement. There's a power line easement that crosses lots 8, 9, and 14.
but it's neither shown on the plat nor addressed. Placing homes beneath too close to existing power lines violates Western State standards. Secondly, there's a major concern with a large sinkhole, which I think is going to be addressed again here in a minute. A few things I'll tell you about the sinkhole is increased. We've been at 12 years. It's increased at least 4 times. Clear Chase runoff runs in there now. The neighborhood beside it. Being on private wells, we're concerned about the water jumping directly into this sinkhole. The developer and MAP have applied to CVET for a Class 5 injection well authorization. And this application we received on Friday is inaccurate. It says there's only 2 residential wells and there are 6 wells on this property that feed 18. Additionally, the expanding sinkhole poses a clear safety hazard for children and pets. Plat shows no fencing, barriers, or other protective measures of protecting it. It is inside lot 13. It's going to be sold with lot 13. Lot 14 is also designated as a community lot and retention pond. We're underneath the assumption that there's supposed to be a 35-foot buffer around the top elevation of the pond. The plat only shows less than 10 feet. Moreover, the pond's overflow outfall directed concentrated flows occurring to trail is only a 6-inch pipe underneath our road. While this pipe handles the current field drainage, the added volume from the subdivision will overwhelm it and cause erosion to our privately maintained road. I raised these exact drainage concerns with Mike Price during our November 26th phone conversation as he described the plan. In summary, this plat is riddled with inaccuracies, code violations, unresolved risks to groundwater, public safety, and our private infrastructure. It is premature to approve. I urge you to vote, deny, defer the application until these issues are properly addressed. And I'd like to bring up Kim Helton, the Snowville Road neighborhood.
Kim Helton, 8618 Stonehill Road. And there were some questions I asked, but the plot kept going, so I'm hoping we have a little bit more than that. So a planning commission can deny a plat if it doesn't conform to the standards of the subdivision regulations, or if the plat approval would be detrimental to the public safety, health, and welfare. So the sinkhole is, like he said, grown in size over the years. Claris Chase subdivision was built before stormwater regulations in Hamilton County were established. So the water from Claris Chase runs into a drain out a head wall and directed toward the sinkhole. That distance is about 350 feet away. So this plan would be to take all of that stormwater, add to it the stormwater from the new section of road, and put that water out of the headfall 50 feet from the sinkhole. That's an 85% reduction in the distance that was traveling over grass and being filtered out by that grass to begin with. TDEC, even if TDEC, submits a permit for Class 5 injection well, the subdivision regulations and Hamilton County stormwater manual would still apply. Discharging into sinkhole isn't listed as an approved method, and a grass buffer is only mentioned as an additional method. The closest comparable practice in the manual is infiltration. For infiltration, stormwater is placed in the ground goes through rocks, sand, the soil to be filtered, but that requires a 1,200-foot setback from private wells. You have 6 private drinking wells that are 600 to 1,100 feet away. So there's a great risk for contamination of these private wells because sinkholes have a direct connection to the groundwater. And allowing a stormwater discharge into a sinkhole closer than 1,200 feet to private wells would be inconsistent with what the manual says. There are also 7 septic field line easements within 150 feet of the private wells. There's a field line easement right next to the sinkhole. This sinkhole is growing. If it continues to grow, what's going to happen? Are those going to fall in? if the sinkhole becomes plugged, as what happened on Hunter Road, a sinkhole became plugged, those houses were underwater for weeks. The sinkhole and the stormwater have different piping. They're not connected. So if that water has to flow across those lots, what's right there in that flow? All of your field line easements. And the stormwater pond would not be large enough to accept all the water from the sinkhole, especially if TDEC were to revoke that Class 5 injection well permit. Thank you.
There were some questions I'm giving you. You've got another minute and a half if you'd like to comment. If you'd like to.
Yeah, my name is Scott Kidd. I am in 7930 Clare Chase Drive. This is next to the sinkhole. So yes, the sinkhole has been expanding. Yes, there's hot sinkholes that have been growing close to my property. And yes, all the trees that are behind the sinkhole going up the hill are falling. As the sinkhole is growing, big, huge lumps of the bottom root fall is falling with it. So there is at least 6 trees currently that have been blown over or fallen over going into the sinkhole. So I'm on the lot there where my house is, right next to the sinkhole, and all that water, flood, when it rains, goes right through my property into that sinkhole. So what are we doing to get that water away from the sinkhole, not adding to it? Otherwise, it's going to continue to work back, and it's continuing to become a swampland even more than what it is. And that's why these trees are falling. And that's why I'm afraid of my property all sinking and coming down as that way. Because I have no way to stop it. Because I'm grass all the way through it. So that's my concern. The second concern is my mailbox and my driveway go out to the street, which is going to be right next to the street that they're putting in. And it looks like to me, an engineer, the drawing is basically taking out my mailbox. So it's coming in this way, and my driveway comes this way to a point, and it looks like they're just going around it and making that where the street comes in. So how is that going to affect me, and who's going to fix that or whatever? Those are my concerns of why this isn't ready to go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name's Derek Blackwood. I'm with the MAP Engineers here on behalf of the developer. So I think we got the main point of the opposition is the concern. It's more in line with permitting issues, not the plat. Based off what I've heard and what we believe is the preliminary plat is in compliance with the regulation. TDEC submittal for the Class 5 injection is based off of known information, known permitted width. The information that we received in the letter indicated undocumented independent wells. So it's one of those things where why should we be punished for a deferral for something that we knew nothing about? We're making an application for known documented information. So we'll work with TDEC. We're working with TDEC to get those applications rec, and we'll work with them on that permit process. But we would ask that the Planning Commission continue to let us work through that during the land process. A couple things that were mentioned: setback from the sinkhole for septic. TDEC typically allows that the system to be within 25 feet of a sinkhole, which we're into. So we've got the setbacks from a well, so drinking well, septic system is 50 feet minimum away from the drinking water wells. We're into that. I think that from those standpoints, we're working through the process, and ask please let us continue to work through the process with staff and TDEC. Work through the relates to stormwater. The sinkhole is accepting water from 25 acres from existing development that's been there for 30 years, 25, 30 years. And
we're not changing the drainage area to the sinkhole. The amount of flow that's going to the sinkhole is roughly going to stay about the same. Not going to be much of a change at all. If for some reason the sinkhole has an issue, we're working through that. We're showing that it can flow over land without impacting septic system to the other pond, and that is contingent. So again, other stuff we've worked through. We've asked it again, let it work through it.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Virginia?
He mentioned his mailbox. Do you have any plans? So I'll look at that, but I'm pretty certain the mailbox. We're staying within the right of way or the property that we own and within the public right of way. I'll have to look at that. As well as I do, mailboxes are usually in the right of way. True. I'll look into that and reach out. I'll get this. I have some additional things, but not for that. Not for that. Attorney Varnell, can you just give us a quick summary on what the legal basis is for denial of the plat?
Okay. My understanding is that if they do not meet the regulations of subdivision, Hamilton County subdivision regulations, they can be denied. Or there is a provision, I was just trying to find it in the subdivision regulations to get the exact language, but it is for the health, safety, welfare. Oh, it's right in front of me. Of the general public, or that it would not be in the best interest of the local.
Just to follow up on that, since we don't have any regulations in the book that would prohibit this, and PDEC actually has a permit and application process to do this. Do you think that threshold could be reached in this scenario?
The threshold to deny?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
So to me, that really leaves us with a couple options. One is deferral if we think if this body thinks that we need time to work out some of these issues and make sure they can meet that. When the other option would be a conditional approval that they meet that PDEC regulation prior to a land disturbance permit being issued. And just for everybody's understanding, the land disturbance permit is what lets them go start grading and moving. So if we made it conditional, they would not be able to make any changes to the property until they met all of the regulations, including and I'll leave some time in these
Mr. Harvin.
Thank you. Sir, did you have a community meeting and ask them to let them discuss some of their meetings first?
No, so typically for preliminary plats, that's not standard. We did have conversations with one property owners to get some questions. But no, so we didn't.
I suppose it might have been prudent to have had a community meeting, then you would know about the other wells. So, could I ask the question of some of the people that live on Serenity? Okay. Mr. Deal, or you or someone else answer this for me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but do you have access to public water on Serenity Trail?
No, sir, we do not. No,
The east side does not cover there. It's on the other side of Wolf Fever Creek.
It is, yes. It's on the other side of Foothills Springs.
Okay.
We're all on about 10 to 15 acres of property out there. We're all on private roads. A lot of us are kind of grouped together, but we're on private roads.
I did drive out and look at it. Some of the other people have too, and I mean, it is really low ground. Does Serenity Trail ever flood now? I mean, do you have any water over Serenity Trail at all when you have a heavy rain?
When we have a really heavy rain, it goes over Serenity Trail on the low spot and goes through the Leadbetters and Coopers property.
So the more drainage could make it even worse for you, possibly make it. I don't see how anyone can get out if it gets any deeper. Because that low spot, I'd rather go through it. It's really rough. I would just say, my father had a sister that died from too much bacteria in a well, and that is very frightening for the health safety of the people there. That really bothers me. I'd like, when time comes for a motion, I'd like to make a motion to defer to TDEC has get all this stuff done. If it's appropriate now, Chairman, if you need to weigh, I will. You're welcome to go ahead. I would like to make a motion to defer that with the chairman's committee. There's a motion to defer. Has been seconded. Yeah, I just like to say, I think one of the other things that need to happen for the community meeting, I think you're going to be using someone else's neighborhood access, and it's probably a public way. That's okay, but you're still going to go through there. If you can't take large trucks through there, I think you're going to do a little roadblock because the Indian Trail in the lane by the I'm okay with the motion. Islanders, I think you need to have some more communication. I think the resistance would be a little less. Mr. Payne? I just have a question. But as a practice, I agree with what we're doing. If we approved it, is that not what we're doing? I mean, we can't do anything whether we defer it or not. Is that accurate?
The only thing that I would follow to that with is that, deferring brings it back before this body and offers another chance for public comment that you wouldn't have if you just conditional approval.
Does that see that application?
I'm not certain. I do know that in
A lot of TDEC applications.
usually individual permits do. This is more of a general type permit. But when we've gone through Class 5 injection wells in the past, they do make a trip to the site typically, and I've not known a public comment period. But it is posted online and it is accessible by the information.
Thank you. This is a question for staff. I'm just trying to further educate myself. Number 5, the final plat cannot be signed or recorded until all infrastructure improvements have been completed. Tell me why can't it be signed? I mean, we can be approved today, it just can't be signed.
This is a preliminary plat. You got preliminary plat. Then once that's approved with this body, then move into civil plans through the engineering department review. They start grading, they start doing the infrastructure. Then a final plat comes back to this body for approval.
Okay.
We as staff will not sign that plat until all the roads have been installed and accepted for the county road.
Okay.
So that's why we won't sign. Even though this body's approved it, we will not sign that plat. Everything's constructed.
So this will come before us again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then
It's a final plat.
okay. And then the other question is just the process of TDEC. Why would it come before us if TDEC hadn't approved their application yet?
I can answer that. Typically, the process is a preliminary design drawings are completed. We submit the plat to the Planning Commission for review. A lot of times for us, we'll go ahead and concurrently submit for land disturbance permit and all the necessary permits. It's not necessarily required to do that. So our process is we don't do anything. We can't get any approvals from staff, from TDEC can issue their permit separate from Planning Commission. But the county side of things will not issue a land disturbance permit until this body reviews it and approves the preliminary plat. So I think that our measures in place to protect to make sure that we're adhering to the requirements. We've gone through and done a proactive submittal to TDEC to the county for review. Everybody's under review. So we're going through the process. This doesn't necessarily have to be approved before Planning Commission votes to approve it.
And the chairman made
that's pretty well.
That's the process. And the preliminary plat's not authorizing them to start construction
Right.
or anything. It's just saying we generally think this layout works based on our subdivision requirements.
Thank you.
Mr. Finley. Mr. Maybe.
I guess thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question, make sure I understand the motion correct. Is there a specific timeline on the motion?
I would think until hopefully the next time they would have it cleared by CDEC and maybe get straightened out, get their application straightened out, the things that were brought up, problems that were brought up. Is it possible to have that?
We reached out to them today. We got the information from the staff about the opposition to these additional wells. We this morning we started the process of CDEC about it. I hope it will be done before the first period. So I would ask that you would let us continue to move forward so that we're not held up. But again, I suppose that
Mr. Finley.
I was going to add that the connecting road is a public road.
Is it possible to limit?
There is on the number of days. This body has to take action in 60 days unless the applicant agrees to it.
I was just curious if it would be better to even if you still do referral for up to 60 days. And that way, if we met 30 days up here, we can do it. If it's not, do it next to 30 days.
Yeah, I think this body's done it.
Mr. Chairman, I would be open to changing it up to 60 days if that's precedent for the body. That would be on the agenda next month.
It depends on if he can get everything to us by our deadline to get the agenda and everything's set and everything's worked out with HDEC, yes, we will add it. If not, it's automatically rolled till it's made.
that could be because the deadline to submit is quite a bit sooner than planning commission. I would ask that we go ahead and be put on the 30 days. The request is for us to submit the approval from TDEC before the deadline to get everything on the agenda, which is quite a bit less. I'm working towards that. I'm not certain that puts the onus on us to get to you within a couple weeks versus 30 days, whereas if we don't get it to you within a couple weeks, we could be 60 days.
We have a motion on the floor.
We can defer it to the next month.
I think we just put it on the agenda, stick with the original motion, and it's on the agenda in the motion. So we do have a motion to defer 30 days. Let's properly second it. We've had plenty of discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, next case on our agenda is SEC-26-1, its final plat, Community Harbor Subdivision Phase 3, lot 24 through 39, and Community Lot 40, located at 508 Molly Lane. Has staff recommendation to approve. Is there any opposition present? We have a motion to approve. It has been seconded. Mr. Schultz, I did have one question. This was just raised to me outside of this meeting, but it's not a bad thing. Portion of this alley that is drawn is on sanitary sewer easement. Is that right?
I believe so. Looks like it is.
Okay, what? And it looked like too there was a wall as a portion of that. In that right?
Yeah.
Is it standard practice for us to approve a wall and an access easement on a sanitary sewer? I just didn't.
No,
I didn't know the answer to that.
City of Chattanooga Sewer Department will review that. And if it has to be changed, they'll adjust.
That was your
The advanced sort of phase.
Just out of curiosity, why wouldn't we defer this case until it's done?
Body cleaning.
So that particular issue is addressed in permanent.
And water, Moccasin Bend, City of Chattanooga Sewer Department, again, they're on the review of these plats as well, and that was never brought up in that department.
Okay. We have a motion to approve and has been properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, excuse me. Any opposed? Okay. All right. Got some old business here. To let Vice Chairman Anderson handle all that old business since he didn't get it handled last month. Is that fair? Just bumped it on. I could see. First item under old business is case 2026-0014, and this is for rezoning from RM1-6 to RM-3, and staff is recommended to deny the request and approve other, and it's located at 1000 Block South Road. Is there any opposition, President?
Mr. Chairman, I think one of the reasons this was deferred last month, if you hear the gentleman to the left, the side, and maybe that can speak to this. When he purchased his property, he thought he purchased this lot as well that's being developed. His driveway comes in just a little bit on this property, and that's one of the reasons it was deferred to work out that issue. Then also last month, we had originally had a deny. But in the staff report, we told the applicant to reach out to us and talk to other zones that may be appropriate at this location for the RN3. We did look at other zones. There are new zones in our toolbox. And we're recommending to approve TRN2, which would allow this development with a condition of no more than 4 residential developments. But I don't know if the resolution of adjacent property owners is involved.
Dexter Haas, 310 Night Drive. I'm here as the engineer representing the applicant. The question on the property ownership has been resolved. That was the issue that we had last time. And Brian, you bring up TR, which one?
TRN2.
TRN2. Does that allow townhomes?
It does.
Yeah, we're going to proceed with that, John. If that seems feasible at this time.
The motion to approve the staff recommendation has been properly seconded.
Brian, can you confirm that setback and everything works for what?
I believe they're the same setbacks, other than this has a build-to zone. These are the interesting thing. These are flag lots. I'm not sure how that build-to zone would apply on the setback. I was hoping you all would look at that setback to see.
Yeah. So to respond that to you, Brian, from interrupt you. They look like flags, but they do not at any point have widths that are smaller than the requirement for the RM3 at that point. So they don't, even though they look like flags, but they stay within the width requirement for zoning.
Right, to get your frontage.
Mm-hmm.
So then do they move to this requirement?
Yes, I believe so. I believe so. If anybody else can, I think that's what I'm not sure how the build-to zone, because it's, since this is a weird, especially the ones in the back, if that would come off that front driveway, that build-to zone 15 foot off of that, because it's not a public road, that's a private driveway in essence. So I think that setback would apply to that. I believe the setbacks are the same if it was zoned RM3, other than the 6 build-to. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I would have minutes of this meeting and maybe even document this conversation when you submit your application to forms to notice the city do it.
Just making sure that layout meets the requirements of the build-to zone.
Yes. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next case on our agenda, item 2, under old business, case 1026-0018. And this is the city of 4300 Dodge Avenue. And staff is recommended to deny an applicant's request to rezone from RM2 to CR. Is there any opposition present? Is the applicant present? Do we have an applicant for this case? Is he the applicant?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had actually, in this case, Mr. Chairman, we had reached out to the applicant in our office as well as the property owner to schedule a pre-submittal meeting with LDO, Land Development Office, to see if it's either CR or CNT, could he even meet the landscape requirements? Because it's such a small lot. Could he bring this lot into compliance? We never heard back from either one. If they ever had that meeting, I don't believe they did. So, pretty unique case. We would recommend deny.
Mr. Yeah, I seem to remember last month we talked about this, Brian, and the applicant was property owner, so why is it not do that? And I got the expression from the applicant not to do that. It's basically an auto repair facility.
That's correct. Yeah. It's had some type of, you check the tax assessment, but it's been some kind of commercial use. It's been zoned residential for many, many years too. So go back to Google Earth, at least since 2013, if I remember. In 2013, it's been used as some kind of auto repair dealership, and several complaints have been filed for not meeting landscape requirements. I don't know what triggered him all of a sudden out to come and try to get it rezoned, but it doesn't meet any of the zone standards in terms of the landscape stuff that is required. It's a very small lot.
Yeah, but I mean,
There's a motion to deny. It has been properly seconded. Any discussion? And favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, under old business, case 126-0020. And staff recommends to deny an applicant's request to rezone from RM2 to CRM1. And this is at 134, 138, and the unaddressed property in Boston. Is there any opposition present? I know you're the applicant. And ma'am, you're in opposition? Is that right? I'm sorry? Oh, you're in support of it. Okay. Mr. Schultz.
Give me the whole presentation again, since you were, Mr. Chairman, to the highlights. Yeah, sure. Last month we presented this case here. We had recommended deny this rezoning for basically multi-unit development. One of the reasons we had a denial was based on section 3853 of the zoning code. It's highlighted in red on the screen. All parking facilities must be designed to allow the driver to proceed forward into traffic rather than back out. This does not apply to single unit detached, attached, or 2-unit dwellings. This developer is in position to rezone property to build multi-unit development dwellings on this property, which would require turnarounds at this street. You see this is the street going into it. It doesn't meet any standards. We reached out to the fire marshal and Caleb Fisher with CDOT, or Transportation Division, just to determine were we correct. You know, Chris, I try to catch that every time, but been saying for a long time I can't change. So this is the email I got from Transportation Division. Again, section 3856 of the Chattanooga zoning code requires parking facilities that require backing into the right of way are not required for multi-unit. Section D of the fire code requires turnaround provisions for dead-end streets exceeding 150 feet. This meets that requirement. In this particular case, Lynchburg Street is 1,000 feet long, has no turnaround provisions. Changing the zoning in order to introduce commercial multifamily development at the end of the street raises life and safety concerns. Because turnarounds are required for new streets, existing dead-end streets are considered legal non-conforming. Any change to existing lots, uses, or zones requires non-conformities to be addressed. Therefore, this developer would have to address or provide some type of turnaround at the end of Lynchburg Street. Again, this does not apply to single-family dwellings or duplexes, so that could be developed as presently zoned. Staff would still recommend denial of this rezoning request based on those provisions that we've been provided by our Transportation Division.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Zeka, are you going to speak on this case? Yes, come on up.
Okay. All right. So one thing I regret not saying last time, Brian, if you can bring up the site plan again that we submitted, which I'm saying is a little hard to see on the screen. So that those units on the bottom there, the configuration of that driveway that is shared between those buildings proposes a fire truck turnaround in itself. Right there, you have the required length for that turnaround, and it meets international fire code requirement. And other than doing that already, we have communicated with the fire department as well, which was the biggest topic of discussion last time. And I don't want to quote them without reading the email that we shared with Brian not too long ago, mentioning that for their purview, they have no opposition to this development apart from other public infrastructure, which would have to go through the regular permitting in order to be addressed. Therefore, having also speaking with Councilman Lakita Dotley and and her showing the support, the developer here, Mr. Patterson, willing to invest and bring housing opportunities to an undeveloped area of the city. We believe that what we're asking here is reasonable, and we are looking to get an approved.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? First, we'll get some opposition.
He's at Morgan Johnson, 21 here. I'm opposing the zoning in the zoning to allow construction of 16 pounds in Lynchburg Street. Lynchburg Street is a very narrow street here, the dead end at the end, a lot of trees at the end, and also like this a dead end. In the event of emergency situations, there's traffic and then matter regarding to human life and safety. Ambulance and fire trucks will be in we have to back up, we need to speed. And that will impact to the rest. Our council person is Dr. James Kennedy, and he's just looking to Europe to get the council continue to provide this support and support the state for the rest of the only for the state.
Zeka.
Yeah. So regarding the question about vehicles having emergency vehicles having backed up, we believe that won't be the case because of the configuration of the new driveway that proposes in compliance with the International Fire Code turnaround going to what we've submitted as a site.
Commissioner Holland.
Briefly, Mr. Chairman, may I ask staff their reaction to the engineer's comment? Has he covered your concern, Brian?
Well, I'm not an engineer, traffic engineer. I can answer that question. That's appropriate for the fire marshal, but you still have this section of zoning that has to be addressed. But, no back out parking is allowed for multi-unit. The fire marshal says what he has, still got the zoning code.
How would you address
A new configuration of that parking for the upper unit and the upper lot would have to be changed either by shifting the unit further back and providing the necessary amount of space we need in order for that not to happen within right away. But we are willing to do those changes as part of the review for and service permit that we have to apply before construction starts.
Let's go to my question. He's bound by what city staff is. If the city says you can't do it, it doesn't matter what he says, it doesn't matter what we approve, it won't just, you can't do it.
That's a permitting issue. If you can't get the permit, without zone, you can build a structure. Now, as it's presently zoned, he could build, single-family dwellings and ADUs. That's code wouldn't apply. Or duplex.
But if he built this, if he did what he just said, he changed the parking lot, the concern you guys have over the zoning will not be correct.
I think so.
what's the will of the commission? We have a motion to deny and it's been properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Do a quick roll call.
Yeah, Mr. Payne. Ms. Cotter. Yeah, 5-5. You get
That
to
has
vote.
not
You
happened.
get to vote.
That has not happened in like 9 years. And last time it was my fault. It was always my fault. It's only been 3 times. I wasn't planning on voting, so I haven't formed an opinion. I do never vote, ever. I mean, I think last time I voted was probably 7 years ago. So I'm never actually prepared to vote. I'm not normally contemplating how I feel about it. So give me a second and I'll break the tie. No,
No, pass. I got 6-5.
we need a new motion. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So I guess this is for staff or maybe for the applicant. You mentioned some things that you'd be willing to modify to address some of the issues that were brought up.
Correct.
So that was the parking.
Yeah.
Tell me again.
Yeah, the parking on the upper unit proposed a configuration that during the permitting process would have to be addressed. And also another point that I want to make today is that we haven't had opposition in this case so far, even when we were here last time. So I believe
You have not.
we have not
Okay.
encountered opposition.
Right.
I know we were here 30 days ago, and there was no opposition at that time. So what I want to also propose is talking over about the plan and explaining in further detail. So we can try to align expectations.
So I'd like to propose, Brian, you might have a better handle on the condition that he mentioned with the parking, so that does get on the record. I know it still has to come before city council, but I think it would be important to have that condition for addressing the parking in that one unit. What's the right wording for that?
Just the first initial thought, you don't need a condition because it's just, transportation division doesn't approve that
That
layout.
wouldn't get approved
Wouldn't get approved
otherwise.
anyway, right?
Okay. That's all, Mr. Dean.
Mr. Maybe.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to say I appreciate the councilwoman's thoughts. While I don't know that we do need a condition, I would encourage the applicant to make those changes prior to the council. Thank you, Mr.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Mr. Stoops?
I just have to.
Motion carries. Thank you. First item under new business, case 1.6-0019. Staff is recommended to approve the list conditions request located at 1107 National Road. Is there any opposition present? To approve and has been properly seconded. Is there any discussion? In favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 on our agenda is a mandatory referral, 6.26-0025. And it has a staff recommendation to approve for right-of-way closure and abandonment located at 3800 Block of Pavilion Drive. Is there any opposition present? Is the applicant present?
Sure. This is a mandatory referral request to abandon a right of way. Proposed use of residential driveway to the property zoned RN16. There's a sewer easement that was abandoned this 1500 block of Mercer Street, and then 1547 Mercer Street received a special permit for residential PUD, which is just to the south, east of this site, which is zoned RN16. Here's the aerial view. You can see everything abutting this property is single unit residential. To the south, east of this property is a vacant land that's being constructed as a subdivision. Here's the view of that subdivision as abutting this property. The dotted red lines is the right of way being requested to be abandoned. This property in back is being developed. You can see the access points do not need this right of way for that subdivision to be developed. They're coming in off of Birmingham and Elm Street, and another access point off Arkwright Street. Here's the view of the right of way. Looks like there's a driveway in this right of way that serves the house on the right hand side. This blue house. This is again the right of way where that truck is. This is the aerial view of the site. Then you see the house sitting here, and here's the right of way, and there is a driveway in that right of way. This request does meet the right of way abandonment policy established by the city of Chattanooga. This request will not landlock property. The abandonment will allow continued use of a residential driveway. So staff recommended to approve this abandonment.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps. Any questions? Please, staff.
Good afternoon, Ian Blackmore, 3816 Azalea Drive. I'd like to hand something out. Just to give you all some business. My wife and I purchased this property from my mother at her forever home. When we purchased the property, we were told that it had a shared driveway with access, ingress, egress easement. After we purchased the property, we became acquaintances with the neighbor. He let us know that it was actually a free right of way. So after doing a little bit of investigation on it, there are no easements. It is a portion of a free right of way right now. It's about 14% slope, gravel driveway, leads to nothing. The neighboring development site plan doesn't need it for access. So we're just looking to abandon it to put the property back to each owner so they can have the appropriate access that we need.
There's somebody here in opposition. You were here. Any questions for the applicant?
Good afternoon, David Browning, family owned 3826 Rose Drive. So that is exit 3, and it does provide access to our rear driveway. You can see on the map there, and it's 2 cars. So therefore, abandonment, you would lose access and switch access. We do not.
You know, it would be split between you and the adjacent property owner, so you would have 20 feet, is a 40-foot width there now. You would have 20 feet of property added to yours.
Yeah, we don't see any benefit because then there, even if there is benefit, we have to pay it. Right now, we are actually using it as a place to gain access to our property. Driveway.
Any questions? Mr. Maybe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So are you saying that the city is maintaining the attitude of the county? I'm sorry, the city. They have historically, yes. I believe it's actually. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson.
Question for the opposition. Come back up for a second. I'm a little puzzled when you say that the city of Chattanooga is maintaining it. Can you give an example of something that, like the Department of Public Works has done to this property when there is a qualified place to do it? It hasn't been anything. It has not needed anything currently, so nothing has been done. But I'm unaware.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that because my house sits off of a similar type of drive, and the city won't maintain it unless it's a pass through, a drive through, if it's a dead end to something. So my question for the applicant, what do you plan to, in a perfect world, if we approve the abandonment, what do you plan to do?
I spoke with the neighbor. I'm open to an access easement, a shared ingress egress easement. I just said we couldn't execute that yet until the abandonment.
So do you plan to do anything on your 20 feet of it?
No changes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson.
Move to approve.
There's a motion to approve and has been seconded. Any discussion? What are you asking, Jeff?
I will lose access to the driveway and that 2 cars. So if our property, if we split down the middle, right, so therefore he could put a fence right down the middle of the driveway. How would I gain access?
So we have a amended motion and it's properly seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Sir, do you understand that if it's approved, you have 20 feet that you can do whatever you want with, so you could put up a fence and have an in and out of your property if we were to leave the condition off. Does that make sense? Seems like there's still a confusion.
If there is a fence built up, we already have a fence that goes right up. So therefore, my concern is even if it is split down the middle, The left photo there, the left is the fence.
Okay.
So therefore, if there's if it's 5 down the center, I would reconfigure my fence, cut down that tree to be able to drive. There's also a fence, there's a wall that goes all the way in the rear of that property. The wall would have to be.
Okay, so do you understand if we put the condition that he can't build the fence down the middle of it or do anything to impede either of you traveling on that road, either side of it, or that gravel alley, either side of it, that that's what would happen. We will put that condition so neither of you can do anything, and the city won't take care of it, but neither one of you would have to do anything.
That's fine.
Okay.
Have unrestricted access to the garage. I mean, that's not anything.
Mr. Chairman, staff will also, just for the record, note that the plat will need to be completed to combine, the right of way into both property owners' property, and at that point, they'd probably put a driveway easement that also provides access.
And I support that.
There's additional steps that have to occur. Correct. That's correct.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You two should talk now outside of the hallway.
Well, they are neighbors. Yes. Item 6 on our agenda is case 2026-0027, and this is located at 3404 7th Avenue, and it's application to rezone from RN2 to RN3. Staff is recommended to deny the applicant's request and approve other. Is there any opposition present? Is the applicant present?
We did receive one email in opposition to this. And so I will say in this case, we recommended to deny RN3, which the applicant requested. He wants to build a quadplex, but we're recommending one of the new zones, which is TRN1, which allow a quadplex on this property.
Okay, sir, can you introduce yourself and then answer one question for me? Come on up and make sure that mic is on.
That's the one who recommends. And I'm the owner of that property.
And are you aware of staff's recommendation? Okay. What Mr. Schultz has just told us is that they are recommending a different zone than what you requested, but the zone that they're recommending would allow for you to do the same project.
You put it again?
You requested a certain zone, RN3. The staff has recommended to deny that and approve another zone, which would allow for you to build the plot that you want to do.
Ryan, why did you recommend?
Well, we have new zones, additional residential zone makes a central location. RN3, again, more of a suburban type zone. It allows multifamily, taller buildings. We're trying to keep it more neighborhood friendly. And the TRN zone allows the same product. With the plot.
If you change that zone, but you can still do what you asked to do, is that big deal?
So yeah,
No, I say yes. I move to approve staff recommendation.
we have a motion to approve the staff recommendation that has been properly seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Moody.
Just one quick thing. So, and I realize it's a little tough to feel, but I guess quick question for staff. If y'all look at the setbacks he proposed as well, and with those
We typically don't look at setbacks, but we look at the lot coverage. He's going to meet that requirement. The TRN1, pretty much the same setbacks as R3, I believe.
All in favor, please indicate.
We have reduced interior side setbacks.
I
You have reduced interior side setbacks.
He's got less than you have.
It will require less.
okay, good. Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
You say something?
Yes.
The land is in the middle, in the middle of 7, in the middle of 8 avenue. in the court, you put them up to the eventually.
Yeah.
And Karen's
So-
going to talk to him as well.
Yeah, so this commission's just made a motion to approve you being able to build them. Different zones, but yeah. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Oh, lady, I think that she's going to help you out.
We did not just give you a building permit. We should have deferred it until we had a building permit. I mean, I think that's the thing to do. Item 7 on our agenda is case 2026-0028. This is located at 8525 Old Cleveland Pike. And staff recommends to deny the applicant's request to rezone from A1 and R5 to RT1. Is there any opposition present?
And Mr. Chairman, we did receive email from opposition.
Is the applicant present? You will, Mr. Schultz.
Yeah, this is case 2628. This is a request. This is in the county to rezone from A1 Agriculture District and R5 Single Wide Manufactured Home District to RT1 Residential Townhouse District. Proposed use of townhouses, roughly a little less than half an acre. Number of units proposed is 6, and that's a density of 12.8 dwelling units per acre. There's been no zoning history on this piece of property. However, to the west, you can see there's the R3 property sitting here. That was approved with conditions in 2024 from A1 to R3. Then to the southwest of the site in 2002, that property was rezoned from A1 and R5 and C2 to RT1. Then to the southeast of the site, there's R2A. So there's a mixture of residential zones in this area.
What was the conditions on
Don't recall. Let me get to that report. I don't see any. We're going to look for it real quick. I believe there's a limited number of units. I think it's a number of units probably. To the north, this property is a railroad. To the west, a single unit residential. To the south, a townhouse and single unit residential. To the east, vacant property. Here's a view of the site. Here's the view south of the site, some of the single family dwellings. West of the site, again, more single family dwellings. This is a view looking down Old Cleveland Pike. This property is located in Plan Hamilton, which again was adopted by this body. The place type recommendation is suburban residential, which is primarily single family, single unit detached residential dwelling units with a maximum dwelling units of 5 dwelling units per acre. It does say townhomes are a limited use when they're located within a quarter of a mile of a public school, park, or center where appropriate infrastructure exists. Here's a closer view of the place type Plan Hamilton. Here's the site plan showing 6 townhomes all fronting Old Cleveland Pike. This request is not compatible with the Plan Hamilton recommendation of suburban residential. Again, it exceeds the density requirements of 5. This is 12.7 dwelling units per acre. It also said townhomes are a limited use when it meets certain criteria. This site does not qualify for moderate density or limited uses described in Plan Hamilton. Specifically, this site is not located within a quarter mile of a public school, park, or center, nor is there adequate infrastructure to support increased density along Old Cleveland Pike. Any moderate density is meant to be near major street or transit routes. Old Cleveland Pike does not meet this standard. The applicant can request through the planning agency a plan amendment since this request does not comply with Plan Hamilton. Based on all that, staff recommends to deny this request.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Any questions? Just a minute.
My property.
I'm sorry, what did you? Oh, Melissa LeBlanc, and it's 8525 Old Cleveland Pike. And 450 feet away is the same zoning, on the same street. There's 30 units right there, 30 townhomes. I would be okay with doing 4. That's okay with me. I would just like to know, you guys' recommendation, but, 8496 Old Cleveland Pike is the same exact zoning that I have, and it's less than 450 feet away on the same street, facing the same street.
If you could show them you read it, that five would be, five would not be outside.
Not the units, it's 5 dwellings per acre, not the unit count. And that RT1 that she was mentioning to the southwest on the screen, that was zoned in 2002.
Would you guys oppose maybe just splitting the lot into two and having a duplex, two duplexes? Or would that be okay?
Well, Plan Hamlin says single unit detached residential up to 5 dwellings. Townhouses, 2-unit housing is a limited use, still wouldn't meet that limited use criteria. Spaces allow single unit dwellings and single wide. We looked at possibly subdividing and creating 2 lots. I don't think that lot's big enough to meet the subdivision standards. To be able to be
Was it
split.
9,500 square foot for if I want to do a duplex? It's 9,500 square foot per side, right? I think I have.
Right, but you'd have to get that rezoned.
Right. So would you guys recommend a rezone for that, or would I have to?
Brian, it says according to the handwritten site plan, that they can do the 4 feet of width. That's why you have to get 2 lots out of it.
No, I think so. We looked at possibly subdividing around 2 single-family dwellings. It's not going to be to the requirements lot frontage.
What is the? I do that all the time. I divide lots all the time. So they put 55 foot, or what do you have? Is it 60?
That's the 120.
So you don't have. So even though they have 30-foot lots, 450 foot away, are you saying that was?
Well, ma'am, if I may just put us back on the track here. So staff has made a recommendation to deny, but this body doesn't.
Okay.
So make your case
Okay.
to this body for why we should approve this, and as best you can, and then let us deliberate that and maybe give you some input. Because I haven't heard a motion to deny.
Okay.
And so while we do have a staff recommendation to deny, we've yet to take any action on it. So let's figure out.
Okay.
If you could just make a good point.
Okay. Well, I just feel like, we need more housing with the growing Hamilton County. It's growing rapidly. I'm a real estate agent as well as a builder. So I just feel like, being that I do have plenty of land here, I would like to, at least do 2 or 3 townhomes. I'm not opposed to that versus a single family. And 450 feet away, like I said, is 30 units on 30-foot wide lot.
I would just like to add, not that I want to make an argument for rezoning. I do think it's particularly difficult to do residential new construction back up to the. And that is just really challenging. And so, there's either that could be tough in the standalone residence. Mr. Megan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess one comment and then I think that this is an area that probably would be suitable for more dense housing product than just straight single family residential. I don't know have the best way to go about doing that. I understand where the staff coming from as well in terms of planning and obviously identified. But sometimes when we get closer in and on these cases, and out of the bigger picture, like we're doing, passing an overall area plan, there are specific examples that may need to be modified. I was reading the email comments in opposition, and I guess I'll address this to staff because it noted a concern about parking. If this is passed the way she is proposed, would there be parking requirements in that zone for for a product like this?
Yes, the county does have parking requirements. I don't recall what those are off the top of my head.
But on site
On site.
or on
Could not be
site?
off street. Again, and staff reviewed again, just primarily based on, Plan Hamilton. Again, she mentioned that one south, but that was 2002. We have a new plan. It says suburban residential, single family being the primary use, and the maximum density of 5 dwelling units. Now, she can ask for a plan amendment to come back through that process by this body, change that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's right. Well, there's, I mean, he did say 2002, but there's multifamily all around the area. But I don't know what year those were, but they're all around the area. So just to limit it to, single family, I feel like it's odd, doing that. Okay, maybe like a different zone.
Well, as of right now, it cannot be subdivided as a variance as it's zoned today.
Right.
Don't have that frontage. Again, we're looking at Plan Hamilton, which was just adopted last year as a suburban residential with a maximum density 5 dwelling per acre. I don't know if the zone's going to help that if we change that place type.
But this zone is, okay, so this zone is available.
Correct, if a plan supports it. We do have RP1 zones. We just have a new plan that sort of dictates what moderate density should be. And this supports an area that did not support moderate density.
That is the reason. I know.
Correct. That's what that property is.
When we're backing up to this space, maybe there's room, maybe it's not. Brian, with the fence, it's worried if it's 5 units per acre, but then
Well, it's just that the way it says limited uses, secondary uses. Go back to that. That's been quarter mile of a public school, park, or center where appropriate infrastructure exists. I don't believe it meets any of those criteria. There's no school within quarter mile, no public school or park. It says townhomes are permitted, but it's a limited use. You're not going to see those everywhere. Trying to control that density near those, public facilities, basically.
but it says or where appropriate infrastructure is.
Yeah, I think so. Within the quarter mile of public school, park, or center for public infrastructure, where appropriate infrastructure exists.
I mean, the only reason I asked the question is because I'm assuming too that on the side I would assume that we don't have much to it. So I don't know if that would count as appropriate infrastructure. Now the plan would still cap you at 5 units per acre instead of 7. But maybe that's a discussion we have at RPA over the next month and see if there's some sort of halfway point that could work.
Is there a motion to defer 30 days? That has been properly seconded. Any discussion? In favor, say aye. Any opposed? Get with staff and we'll be back before us in March. Hopefully with what I think staff has heard is that we'd like to approve something, but we need a better thing that we
I just did a quick count, Mr. Staff, Mr. Chairman. Gosh, long day. I'm brain dead
does that
here.
mean I'm on payroll?
I know. Got too many people talking here in my ear, so I'm trying to help me here. Based on my quick calculation, to get below 5 units per acre, you have to do 2 units only. I don't know that it's going to get there. We'll definitely meet with her.
I'm okay with it. That's how I do it.
Yeah. Figure out what that is with staff.
Okay.
And we'll be back before us. All right, item 8 on our agenda is case 2026-0029, and this is located at an unaddressed portion of Fix and Fight, Cedar Mountain Road, and staff is recommended to deny application request from R117 and C&T for C Street. Is there any opposition present? Is the applicant present? Mr. Schultz?
Yes, this is case 2026-29. This is a request to rezone from CNT conditional zone and RN 17.5 residential neighborhood zone to CC commercial corridor zone. Proposed use is mixed use residential, including a liquor store. I believe the applicant wishes to change his application. He may speak to that when he comes up. The change, as of the email of last week, just wanted to change it to retail. It's roughly 0.96 acres in size. There's been a lot of history in this piece of property as well as abutting property. In 1997, a portion of this site was rezoned from O1 with conditions. The original request was C2. In 2022, rezoned the site from R1, R2, and O1 to C2. Staff and Planning Commission recommended R4. City Council approved R4 for this site. Then this site was equivalently mapped from R4 and R1 to CNT and R1 7.5 zone, the new zoning code. That's on this piece of property. To the north, across Russell Avenue, in 2004, this property was rezoned from R2 and O1 to C2 convenience commercial with conditions. The proposed conditions include proposed use of a fast lube only and all existing easements to be retained. And then to the south of the site, this property right here at the corner, 1813 Signal Mountain Road, was requested rezone from R2 to C2 convenience commercial zone. Staff recommended to deny the C2 zone, approved C5. C5 was approved with conditions limiting nuisance to adjacent residential uses. There's a view of the property. It's a vacant piece of property. It's north of commercial and vacant land. To the east along Russell Avenue and Grandview Avenue are single unit detached dwellings. To the south along Signal Mountain Road is office and single family dwellings. To the west across Signal Mountain Road is a mobile manufactured home park and single unit detached residential. Here's a view of the site. Another view of the site. Russell Avenue is just to the left of the picture. Here's a view of the site towards that CC that was conditioned to the use only. Signal Mountain Boulevard Road to the right, left of the screen. This is a view south of the site, which is office. This is a view looking west with the manufactured home park across Signal Mountain Road. Here's Signal Mountain Road. The site's on the right-hand side. This property is not located in any land use plan, so we're referring to Plan Chattanooga, which again is a draft, but we didn't have any plan to provide guidance. The place type recommendation for this property is suburban residential. You can see on the screen here, it's showing that here's suburban residential. Here's a site plan submitted with request. Again, the front part's already zoned CNT. The requested CC zone is for the back portion as well as the entire front portion. Based on zoning history, this area, there's been 4 zoning cases in the area which show a pattern of either not supporting the requested C2 zone, which is the old zone, which is now CC, and approving a less intense zone, or conditioning the zone to specific use. The applicant is requesting CC zone for a mixed-use retail development. This request does include rezoning property along Signal Mountain Road, wrapping around to Russell Avenue. There's no CC zoning along the eastern side of Signal Mountain Road from Russell Avenue to Cross Street to the south. However, the northern section of Russell Avenue, Signal Mountain, does contain CC, but again, it was conditioned to that use only. Previously, staff had recommended denying C2 rezoning along this stretch of Signal Mountain Road. The proposed CC zone will introduce nuisances that could impact the adjacent single family along Grandview and Russell Avenues. Again, the draft plan Chattanooga recommends suburban residential. Staff recommends maintaining the current zoning along Grandview Avenue, which is RN 175, and keep the current CNT zone along Signal Mountain Road. So staff recommends to deny this request.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Any questions for staff before we hear from you?
My name is Steve Gonzalez, and it's a city district. So we bought the property. We're currently situated in the Food City. Food City is demoing their place. And that is easy to do for the Food City. We're working with all the tenants to get some portions that would otherwise all the businesses would close down. The current situation, we're trying to work with the zoning to get at least 8,000 square feet with everybody there. The way the property sits, I know the concern is brand new access to brand new. The property sits there to be retaining the property. There's nothing to that. We've talked with companies, Henderson and the adjoining neighbor in opposition to the development. The only access would be Signal Mountain Road from the front. And we're going to connect to the office with the Odyssey location right next to our visit. I'm happy to work with the RPA to see if there's another zoning that works to get the businesses to move across, or else all of them will have to flow. There is no other land available to do that. And it is an adjoining piece of corner where Russell Avenue is a part of the North Street Drive. Doesn't really do the office pattern. Any questions for the applicant?
Yes. So tell me again, how will people enter the property? Where will it access?
Signal Mountain Road.
Just Signal Mountain Road?
Yes.
Okay.
The other one, the way the property is grading is going to be retention.
Okay. And then on Russell runs to the side of the property, correct? So no exit or entrance on this one.
There is the EPB easement. We worked out with EPB to underground the power lines. We're very
Are there sidewalks there now? Do you know?
Yeah.
Would you be required to do sidewalks?
very
Oh, there are, yeah.
that's what happened. We're happy.
Can you go back to the area thing?
Again, this was the draft plan, not been adopted by anybody yet. If you can see on the plan, and based on our previous zoning, we tried to hold the line of that commercial zoning creeping up to the mountain road.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay.
As Mr. Chair, I understand the staff report pretty well and understand how they reached the conclusion because they have a certain set of criteria. I think that the applicant has laid out keeping businesses open in the Signal Mountain Road area, which is almost entirely a commercial corridor through there. I think that is a better reason to approve because they keep all businesses open. So I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve and it has been properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next case on our agenda is case 1.6-0031, located at 6203 Etowah Village County Road. And then staff recommends to deny the applicant's request to rezone from A1 to C2 during the opposition further.
Sure, this is case 2631. This is a request to rezone from A1 Agriculture District to C2 Local Business Commercial District for commercial and office uses. It's roughly 0.46 acres in size. There's been some zoning history on this piece of property. An application was submitted in 2022 to rezone the site from A1 to C2 for dog kennel. Staff recommended to deny that request at the time. It did not comply with the land use plan. Planning Commission recommended approve with conditions, and County Commission ultimately denied the application. To the south of Amos Road, there's been several zoning cases on that piece of property, currently C2. In 2021, there was a request to rezone a sliver of that property from A1 to C2. Staff recommended to deny, not in alignment with the plan. The applicant ended up withdrawing the case. And then in 2015, a portion of the south of that property was rezoned from A1 to O1. And then in 2020,
to have an office location for the 4 preschools that they have in Tennessee. He's currently building a preschool right off of Georgetown Road. It's a few blocks south of this site. And he's looking for a location for his 2 employees to have an off-site office location for this. And did reach out to the community and to the public. I mailed out about 48 letters to all the surrounding residents up and down Georgetown Road. I did have 3 people call me, and when I kind of talked about our plans and what we were looking at doing, they had no issues with the threat. And then also Councilman Eversole also did post the neighborhood meeting information to we had the meeting last Thursday. 2 people set up the meeting, Councilman Eversole and his wife came to the meeting. So we had a good talk. I think the comment was earlier made about, Plan Hamilton it's in a tricky stage right now, right? This body has approved it, the county commission has not approved it yet. So, you've got different perspectives from different bodies. But, you look at Plan Hamilton, it's a planning code, or it's a planning document, right? Like, it's not a big picture. Sometimes, I think as Mr. Maybe said, when you look down at each individual parcel, sometimes you've got to make considerations and look at each individual. This one in particular is right across the street from a new multifamily development going up, and also a new commercial product. Actually, if you did that specifically. That project is not complete. It's really nice. I think it's a really nice new office building, literally across the street. The road that this sits on is a dead end road. You have to have access to the preschool, which is closed. Not preschool, the 7th-day Adventist school. That access is closed during the weekday. And that's because it's back there. Other than that, you just have access to one other residential property that they don't have. At the neighborhood meeting, discussion with Commissioner Eversole, one thing that I would like to kind of propose for this, because if you look at the office use of this building, when I talked to the community that called me, they didn't have any concerns with it. But the question is, what happens if he decides to sell in the future? You always want to look at how do we achieve a reasonable goal now, but also moving forward. So we'd actually would like to ask that we have a condition placed in the property that the existing use remain, or the existing building remains in office use only, or change it to O1 office residence or office zone with the condition that the discussion is moving. That way, if Camp Big Fish decides to leave the property and sell the house, we could still remain an office use or to be those activities. So that would be my recommendation. For this body. If you have any questions, I'll be happy with it.
Any questions for the applicant?
The original request was C2, but after talking with some of the community members and the commissioner, we requested A.
I saw some hands up in opposition. If you'd like to speak, come on up.
Northwest. This is my grandmother's home, which my brother inherited from my dad. The solution flood at the house. I'm renovating it. I take great pride in my rental property because of that. Just because this lot is owned by an LLC does not mean the person behind the LLC doesn't care what happens next year. Being a landlord and sharing my home with other people. And no one appreciates living in the property. It's known and claims. My goal today is to convince you to take your decision to deny the decision. Full disclosure, I did try to buy this property myself.
is to keep it residential, but the sellers, are holding off for that, and there's some amount of space we don't have. So this home is also one that I grew up in, and my family built, and unfortunately lost due to the divorce or the husband of the previous. I would love to have it back in the family once again. With that being said, if the commission allows this property to be rezoned, I would appreciate the opportunity to have first right of refusal to purchase this property if they go that is on the future in order to change the zoning tax. And if the property is denied the rezone, I would be equally interested in sell for a better future. So I would appreciate if you held the line there and the plan that we did. There are several offices for these on the left, even closer to the future than this property. Also, I'm not here incorporated the offices into the future that we're now building site. And it was troublesome to me that instead of trying to rezone to O1, which intended to office space, good. Because it's great that we're just helping the people, but that is fair that we might have. So this area is heavily congested. The future would allow for larger buildings and introduce more problems. Notice in your request that you can save more of it, cutting down trees, more runoff, and indications for more office personnel to be there, which seems very unnecessary if you're only going to have 1 to 2 people on site. I personally know from living there, you can fit 3 cars in a boat in the driveway and 2 more in the truck. If there's only going to be 1 to 2 office personnel, property would be existing 2-car garage and driveway to easily accommodate them. The plan the staff recommends is talked about being countryside residential is described as single family homes and larger lots for living. This property is unstructured and will not be conducive to commercial uses for the property ever sell under the plan. C2 would allow for the larger buildings and parking lots, i.e. surface area runoff, further complicate the septic system of the neighboring property, which is already very small. I've been to a couple of town hall meetings discussing the future development of the site and I know the people that live there 24/7 would prefer that we choose this zoning will not be conducive to what the area residents live on. The plan recommends south of Venus Road as mixed residential. Venus Road is the northern one, but please do not keep moving. It's there for a good reason. The plan envisions the properties north of Venus Road where this home is located to develop, or more commonly, stay at countryside. I mentioned already the office is available to south of Venus Road, close to the preschool, that should easily accommodate the employees that are already zoned appropriately for the community. Previously, several other petitions to rezone up the road that is north of the community were also denied based on the plan mentioned above that the staff talked about. And I'm positive that if we were to approve this rezone, several other former denied cases will be reopened once again, along with new ones and stop the continued spread of the area to be rezoned for other than single family residential. The very opposite of what we would have to do. The county has set the rules. If you plan for this area based on feedback from the community, please follow the rules and step for the best. They do not want to see development and rezoning that has already been approved and taking place is not the wishes of surrounding residents, nor is any new commercial development. The majority of the surrounding area is A1 or R1, and we would like to keep it that way and would appreciate you denying this request to help the neighborhood study.
Thank you. Tim, there's a little left in 2 minutes.
I just want to reemphasize, yes, that those plans made that
the boundary. Amos Road is supposed to be the boundary between that commercial and the residential. And I'm here because there are many people on Eagle and Georgetown Road who are also opposed to it, and they have contacted me. And we did not know about the meeting. If there was a sign put up on the property, maybe more people would have known about it. Generally, when they do a meeting, community meeting, they put a sign up so that everyone knows about it. People that pass by that every day, they would have been able to see it and know to come. So that's probably why there wasn't many people there. And I just emphasize that, if you're going to adopt the plan and you have parameters set, there needs to be a plan amendment application submitted for them. This was something that the whole community worked on, the whole community was involved in, and to stray from this with, out doing a plan amendment will be wrong. And also that should stay the boundary between commercial and residential. That's why it was set there. So we have to use it. Well, plus commercial and office uses would be, there's a lot more uses in those zones that would not, work in that area. So please deny this request.
Two things just to kind of reiterate. So my client who owns the house already, he's no significant improvements to the house on the inside and the outside. And this desires to keep this property looking like the residential subdivision. So that's the request. Is that, instead of be able to use a small office space. I believe with the 01 zoning, with the condition of the existing building to remain, that's going to keep this property safe. So either small office space or continue to as a residential if the decides to move on to in the future. Plus it's on septic, so it's limited as far as extension anyway. But I think with the conditions that still keeps the spirit of Hamilton, it still keeps the residential structure. And it's kind of touching on the pavement. Correct. There's no need to add any additional pavement to the site. The two employees or you can park in the garage or park in the driveway. Keeping the house as it is.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thank you. Brian, thank you, Chairman. Brian, would this set a precedent, you think, for other people wanting to change the zone north of Amos? I do know Amos is that is a very horribly congested area. But I'm concerned partially about a precedent that might, when we set a borderline, if we move north of it, would that set a precedent for others to come to the line?
In my opinion, yes.
I just wanted to say that I just got a text from the community for that if it is not proposed to office or non-public use. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve 01 non-public. Restricted to non-public.
I'm not.
In other words, no customers coming in and out. This is a private office.
Is that something that can be enforced?
Well, right now, you're on an 01, right? Yeah. I would say it's not in single family dwellings and office uses only. That's something that is more clear for enforcement.
I think his intent was to make sure that there wasn't customers coming in and out.
So
that's
does 01 have restricted hours?
No.
Anything like that?
No, that's something you don't normally do in zoning code. You can as conditions, but I think we still got the issue of not complying with plan Hamilton. But again, the plan commission has adopted that. That's a residential. I think Karen maybe. I don't know that. Yeah, the condition. I think we need to be clarify what those conditions are, whether it's single family, office.
So we can't override the plan.
So we have had this discussion because we have not had a plan amendment yet. So as staff, we talked about the plan was adopted by planning commission. I think that was with the intent that county commission might adopt the plan. But in the plan, it does
talk about the plan amendment process. It doesn't specify that that is only for the county commission. So our, what we talked about would be a plan amendment, would be to planning commission for the plan review. And then that would be noted as, this is a note to county commission. So county commission wouldn't necessarily act on the plan amendment because they haven't approved it, but that there would be, that is in the plan that was adopted by planning commission, although the intent might have been to move on to, be adopted by county commission. So if this board does not feel that that applies to them, then we can act differently. But
Can the motion include a plan amendment?
the plan amendment to, the state law requires a plan amendment to be advertised 30 days before. And so one of the things we talked about is just being aware and starting to advertise plan amendments when you know they're coming. And so that is really to make sure that the line of state law with that is accomplished and adopted by planning.
So we can't stop this.
So it is staff's opinion, again, is that we have an adopted plan by planning commission. Now, whether planning commission wants to create a policy or to say that is intended to be advisory until such time that county commission adopts it, that is something that the planning commission is one that adopted the plan. I think that if someone else to weigh in, I think planning commission would say we will take that as advisory only until such time that county commission adopts the plan. And in that case, we will just not process the
I mean, generally speaking, I would not want to go down that rabbit hole because I do think the whole plan is correctly founded. So a longer review process for one of these one-off cases meetings is great. So I guess I could ask the applicant, since the commissioner of this district is comfortable with what you're asking for, what I could offer you is a deferral and you get with staff and also get a plan amendment in the works, and then we could discuss that later. This is maybe a technical question. So this is a recommending body. And so we'll go to county commission. County commission approves it regardless of recommendation here or amendment. Sure, I think if we recommend denial, which is what our plan is, then it would flow to county commission and you'd ask for it. Okay. So we could do that. If you prefer to go that route, I can make the motion. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know if a 30-day deferral is changed the decision process. So I'll withdraw my motion and make a motion to deny.
Good. Good motion. Now, well,
Mr. Chairman, who made that statement? I mean, Mr. James.
any discussion?
That's the question. This is just not on this particular case, but going forward. So when someone's applying for a zoning change going forward, would it not make sense to, at the exact same time, apply for change in plan? But it would be in essence, if you're saying what I think y'all are saying, by asking for a zoning change to an area that's plan would require that, you're in essence asking to change it. Correct?
That's correct. If it's not supported by the plan, so in this instance, the applicant could apply for a plan change at the same time as the plan zoning, but it was clear that this would not align with the plan to do two actions.
So going forward, that's what you have to, the zoning request and the plan change.
You could, and correct. The way the plan was adopted was on one side of the river this month and the next side of the river next month.
So we're not doing 60 days, basically.
It alternates.
Right. So what I'm just saying, that you would have to request both.
You can't.
And we acknowledge that you could hear both cases at the same time. Yes, yes, we have kind of talked about the logistics and gone back and forth, and so we have kind of, there are some cases where the project begins to come in alignment with Plain Hamilton Mission District. So we have moved project forward with conditions to align with Plain Hamilton. This is really one of the first ones we've had that was clear that seems to staff conditions to get us there. But our preference is to be recommending with conditions. So we can process them at the same time. We did let the applicant know that we would not be able to distribute in alignment with the community. But we can process it if that's the wish of the commission. We can process them at the same time and have them extra in the future.
According to many, what? Muddy even more. The criteria for accepting the zoning is not the same criteria for accepting the amendment. Because we don't have very well defined acceptance criteria for how the so the planning amendment excludes criteria is never.
That's right. There was language in the draft plan that was removed. The county commission gave advice, so staff is talking about the best approach. I think we're using that as the base, and then add feeling that gives general structure. Some of that does is a line of zoning, but I think we're going to use that as our basic structure.
So you're what we should do?
No, it's just language in the plan that I don't know where along the process we have.
That's right. This is the amendment.
That's correct. The amendment.
Oh, okay.
And so we had drafted the amendment previously, so I think we would start with that.
Mr. Payne, just to be clear, RPA and I did have that discussion with the first committee this application. And they told me up front that, they support Plain Hamilton, but they said that there's not a permit or an application process through Plain Hamilton.
Right. We will have an application by the time that's coming.
Yes, okay.
Not to belabor this, but I will ask one more question. So, Karen or Brian, if you contacted the applicant and said, in order for this to get approved, does he apply for the amendment? He applies for the amendment.
Yes.
Yeah. The applicant does.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the applicant's opportunity to say what has changed, and maybe the plan was incorrect, or there was a new opportunity, or something else has occurred. And that's the opportunity for the applicant to document that to the new person.
Okay, and then he applies at that time, and that's in enough time to then end up on the same agenda for this meeting?
Since we have to give 30 days notice, it's probably not.
So it would have to be deferred automatically for 30 days to give time for him to apply.
The
30 days
notice is the thing that's probably holding it up.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion. Okay, thank you. Next case on the agenda, item 10 is case 1.6-0032, and this is located in the 6800 block of Bayor Court, in the 6908 Cathedral Court, 6700 block, 50 and Drive, 6800 block, French Quarter, 1700 and 1800 block, Black Drive, and 700 block. It's for residential community development. That's recommended to approve. Is there any opposition to it?
Mr. Chairman, we did receive email in support as well as emails in opposition. This is a PUD abandonment.
Okay. And then we'll hear from the staff, then we'll hear from the applicant, then you'll have an opportunity to speak. No problem. You can stay close.
So this case 2632, this is a request to abandon an existing planned unit development. Roughly 14.76 acres in size, 79 units existing, a density of 5.35. This site was rezoned from A1 and C2 to R2 in 1988. This site did receive a special permit for PUD in 1991. This site was annexed into the city of Chattanooga in 2014. See everything around this property is RN16. This particular property is on the RN2. Single unit residential to the north, single unit residential to the south, west, and east of the site. Here's a view of the entrance in the PUD from Cathedral Court. with a view of the people court. This is the area in question where the applicant wishes, this is the community lot, it's owned by the neighborhood association. Slated to be a clubhouse and I think tennis courts and stuff. So this is the view if somebody wants to buy this and build townhomes on this site. This is the view north of the site, south of the site, single family dwellings, west of the site, single family subdivision. This is in the Hickson North River Plan from 2005. It recommends low density residential. The plan will not speak to PUD abandonment. This is supposed to view the Hickson Plan, but recommends low density residential. This is the proposed view of the existing PUD plan, which is sort of shaded out. In the area of the darker lines is where the applicant wishes to build townhomes. Again, this overall thing was a PUD. The Jackson Square Homeowners Association owns this property, and as part of their application, they submitted some information that the current state of the property includes a concrete slab where a clubhouse was to be constructed. The existing tennis court and fence are unusable, and the parking lots need repair. The Homeowners Association has determined that that they, as an association, could not afford to upkeep and maintain this property. It's roughly 2.5 acres in size. They would like to sell it for additional townhomes. The property is zoned RN2. Townhouses are permitted in that zone, so there would not be a question about the uses. The PUD regulations, when this was approved back in 1988, required open space. This was an open space, so if this is abandoned, the open space requirement would not be a requirement anymore. With adoption new zoning code in 2025, there is no process to amend or amend PUDs. You have to start over from scratch, basically. So staff looked at this, and with a letter we received from the Homeowners Association who maintains that lot, it makes more sense to just abandon the PUD. There has been precedent in this area. This was a much larger PUD back in the day. A portion of that PUD was abandoned previously, so there is precedent to abandon the PUD. So staff would recommend to abandon this PUD and that the existing development to develop the townhomes.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Any questions? Yeah.
I got one. If you abandon the PUD, is there any other restrictions or things that the PUD might keep in place that you think would have problems with?
No, the zoning underneath the zoning would apply. The RN2, the single family or townhome. Deed restrictions apply that matters. As far as abandoning that PUD, there wouldn't be no problem. We did receive one email from support, and that could be an opposite.
Mr. Holland, yes, Mr. Floyd.
I'm Jay Floyd with Pate Costing Engineers. As Brian said, the Homeowners Association has this little community property that's in disrepair. And they basically asked their client to purchase this property and build some townhomes that would be compatible with the surrounding townhomes in this neighborhood. The PUD is somewhat irrelevant now because the whole neighborhood's been built out for many years, and we want to basically just redesign this area, put in the townhomes as you see on that plan, and of course conform to all the city requirements for landscape permit.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I live at 1600 Dunstan Hall Road in Hickson, which is actually in the West Point subdivision, which I thought Jackson Square. And it's interested as many estimates in what the plans are to manage it and mitigate stormwater runoff. Many of my neighbors, including myself, that's the Jackson subdivision in that piece of property directly, already have trouble with stormwater runoff that comes from Jackson Square throughout the property. And there's more roadways to be constructed, the roads to get into this new area, and the driveways and all of that is certainly
you can understand that.
Fantastic. Thank you. Our engineer, I'm sure, can speak to that.
Yes, we plan to meet the city requirements for stormwater quantity and quality. Since the water, some of the water that's going towards Johnson Hall now will probably be redirected by the stormwater collection system, and to do a detention basin or infiltration type basin on the downhill end of the property as it's shown on that little site plan. But that's it. So that's what we plan to do to deal with this increased stormwater runoff.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve and has been seconded. Is it a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. He's answering any further questions. Item 11 on our agenda is 10.6-0033. It's over at 3155 White Street. The staff directing to deny applicant's request to rezone from RN16 to RN15. Is there any opposition present?
We really keep one email in opposition.
Is the applicant present? Mr. Schultz?
Yeah, this is case 2026-33. This is a request to rezone from RN16 to RN15. Proposed single unit detached residential development, roughly 0.24 acres in size. Number of units proposed is 2, and it's a density of 8.33 dwellings per acre. This site was equivalency mapped from R1 to RN16 in 2025. There's been no zoning history on this property. However, to the south, there was a request to rezone from R1 to PRN3. Staff recommended deny. PC recommended approve, and City Council actually tabled that request to the south. The north is a vacant piece of property across Bonnie Oaks Drive. To the east is single unit residential. To the west is single unit residential. And to the south is single unit across Dwight Street. We'll talk about Dwight Street in a second. Here's a view of the site. Here's a view of the site. And here's this road, this pavement, that's the end of Dwight Street. The city street doesn't actually go in front of this property, proposed to be subdivided. So these two lots do not have road frontage along a city maintained street. This is the north of the site was Bonnie Oaks Drive. South of the site was single family dwelling. And then it's east of the site. And then here's the Dwight. So you can see the pavement ends and the site's on the left hand side. This is in the historic River to Ridge plan, which recommends suburban residential, which is primarily single unit detached dwellings. Here's a closer view of that place type recommendation. Here's the site plan. This is the previous plat that was submitted a couple years ago. These were two big lots that actually fronted. Bonnie Oaks Drive, they had frontage. And then somewhere along the way in 2022, I believe it was, a developer came in and purchased those two lots and divided, created 4 lots. When he created those 4 lots, 2 of those lots to the rear front Dwight Street, there's actually no physical pavement there. So that's what this previous plat shows. Based on section 3846 of the zoning code, every residential building to receive a building permit must front on a existing city maintained street. This lot, if you divide that, will not front a public street. So that's the reason you're trying to get rezoned to RN15 is to create smaller lot frontages. This proposed site plan, what that would look like, take that one lot and divide it into 2, with that second lot not fronting a public street. It's a public right of way, but no physical pavement exists. This request is not compatible with Area 3 plan, which recommends suburban residential place type. It is compatible in terms of use, but the density. The density in the suburban residential recommends 5 dwelling units per acre maximum, with a 25-foot front setback. The applicant is proposing to do RN15 with a setback of 15 feet, which is not compatible with that suburban residential place type. So staff recommended to deny this request, partly because it doesn't comply with the plan and no actual street pavement in front of this lot. It is separate.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Jeremy King. I'm from 385 White Street.
when I purchased the property, there is pavement, partially, in front of about 14 feet in places like that. The street is incomplete, so it goes all the way to, some point you get to pavement. Stop. But, so what I'm proposing here is, I'm gonna pave the road. When I purchased it, I was unaware of the issues that were going on. I'm aware of it, and I really, missed it. So I'm in a position where I'm gonna pave across both sides of my plan to get access to the public way. And according to the site plan, if you can see the site plan that there, that the issues and the difference in RE1 6 and RE1 5 is pretty much just the extent of the rear of the lot. RE1 6, 6,000 million square feet, you can create two lots at 5,500 square foot with a 55-foot street frontage, and maintaining the setback of RE6, the rear side and front setback. Setback at 25 feet, setback 25 feet, and 15 feet of the proposed.
Any question for the applicant? So the applicant said that they'd be willing to pay, West Street. Is that all that would be required in order to get a building permit?
Well, it's not just pavement, it has to be built to the standard, curb and gutter.
Okay.
I'm not sure what transportation division will require, if it's all, how much they would require to be fixed. Definitely in front of what he owns. Yeah, I think that's maybe. Yes. He just wouldn't be able to sell the ADU if he part of that law.
Could you repeat that?
As it's zoned today with the one lot, it doesn't have frontage for a little bit of that one lot. You could, in theory, build a single family dwelling and build an ADU on the back of it, but you couldn't have two homes.
I could do that without adding to the street. My permit is not.
Oh, you applied for a single permit?
Yes.
Okay, so you applied for 8 buildings.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah. Yeah. And the frontage is there, but it's not. It's just specified as detailed, but the page is stopped. So in order to actually make, honestly, in order to kind of explore some of the cost of paving the road, that's not something that I have my attention. The lot frontage would be 4 inches less than all in the foot, and then it'd be a 10-foot distance.
If you were going to order to
I have, and I spoke with a paving company before about the cost of them. Ironically, this is one of the projects that kind of put my business in a bad position. And I now work for the contract paving. So, yeah.
It does. I think it's going to be a challenge to bring that street up, even if it's off. I may be mistaken, but the city may require.
That has been mentioned, but my position is this would be one step towards the feasible project, not for the project. And in my current position, I can kind of mitigate the cost in some of it
because of what I do as a construction lead for the company. So, and really, I'm in a position that I own it already. And I was not, this is a omission from the relative, and at the end of that,
Commissioner Highlander. Thank you, Chairman. I was wondering if Mr. Anderson could elaborate just a bit on what he thinks the city would decide or the council. What the city decide, is there a turnaround for fire engine or whatever there?
I believe the rule is 500, making it 500 feet. If I'm not mistaken about that, if I'm wrong, but I believe 500 feet. And I was actually just now looking at the map to determine if it's 500 feet in the intersection of Bryant. And I don't think it is. There's no scale on the map, but dealing with the general lot sizes, I don't think it's 500 feet. I'm not sure turnaround would be required.
He knows the specification. This maybe hit my question as well. He knows, you do know the specification of the city you do follow that. Yes, I've had it here before, and I actually submitted the writing for that specification for the pavement and not the road. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
I'd like to move to approve. It's just a nominal change from R&A 6 to R&A 5. I'd like to move to approve this with the condition that
a motion, and let's look at this and it's something good to discuss. And so it's gonna be first. Thank you. Next case on the agenda, item 12 is case 2026-0034. And this is located at 7810 and 7816 South Road. Also 2437 and 2437. And staff is recommended to deny an applicant's request and approve other with conditions for a rezoning from RM2 to C2 commercial corridor zone.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, before we get started real quick too, the applicant, didn't put the sign up and require 15 days notice. It says that in the zoning code, it may be a reason for not moving forward. The sign is up now. It just didn't need that 15-day notice. I think they put it up one day last week, perhaps. Just bring that to your attention. So this is case 2026-34. This is a request to rezone from RN2, residential neighborhood zone, to CC, commercial corridor zone, for a convenience store and gas station. This is at the corner of Chalford Road and Jenkins Road. It's roughly 3.41 acres in size. This particular intersection had multiple zoning cases over the years. Starting in 1999, an portion of the site was rezoned from R2 to C2 with conditions. Those conditions still hold on that piece of property at the corner. In 2025, an application was submitted to rezone 2306, 2338 Rider Way, which is to the west of this site, from RN2 to CC. There was opposition at the Planning Commission meeting. Staff recommended to deny that request. The application was withdrawn by the applicant prior to City Council meeting. In 2007, there was a request to rezone this entire section from R2 to C2. Staff and PC recommended deny. The application was actually denied by City Council in 2007. Then in 2015, there was another request to rezone the site from R2 and C2 to R3 for multi-unit development. Staff and PC recommended deny. City Council denied. So you can see over the years, there's been a lot of history at this intersection on the zoning request. It's currently a vacant piece of property. To the north, it's vacant. Across Chalford Road to the north is institutional. To the east is vacant land and commercial uses. And to the south is single unit residential. And to the west is single unit residential. Here's a view of the site. This is north of the site. South of the site. This is east, some of the different convenience stores. And this is west of the site. West of the site, again, see more single family dwellings. This is Chalford Road, looking towards Hamilton Place Mall. This property is in the Area 11 East Brainerd Plan, which is adopted in 2022. The place type recommendation is suburban residential. Here's a closer view of that. Again, it recommends neighborhood node at the intersection, which is already zone CC. But the properties outside that recommend suburban residential. Here's the site plan submitted with the request. The area in gray is what's being asked to be rezoned. White is already zoned. CC, you see to the east of the site, they want to do a car wash. To the back is more of a service driveway into the site. A small portion of the southwest corner of Chapel Road and Stevens Road is solely zoned commercial. Again, those zoning conditions still hold. The proposed CC zone does not align with Area 11 East Brainerd Plan, which is suburban residential place type, nor expansion of the commercial neighborhood node at this intersection. A neighborhood node is typically 2 acres or less. Neighborhood nodes are smaller than village centers or town centers. The expansion of commercial zoning, while not specifically supported by the plan, does provide a neighborhood serving convenience store and retail uses at this location. Per the site plan submitted with the application, the entire site is not needed to construct a proposed convenience store and car wash. Therefore, staff recommends approving only a part of this site for CC. That would allow the construction of the gas station, the drive aisle, and pumps. Restricting the CC from the entire site within setting a precedent for expansion of intense commercial uses across the whole site. So staff recommends to deny the applicant's request and approve CC for a portion of the site. And I have a map of what that looks like in a minute. With a condition, no animal care facilities with outdoor areas, no hotels, no live entertainment, secondary uses, and no nightclubs shall be permitted. So staff recommends denying the applicant's request and only approving the area in red, which will include the car wash area and the proposed drive-through for the site. Keep the remainder as all in one suite.
Thank you, Mr. Coates. Any questions for staff?
Brian, just I want to point this out on the staff report on the top row with the applicant in the top right, it says position 17 with Premier Construction LLC. That's the last page.
True. Thank you for that.
What this copy of page is.
Normally, we would have opposition stand out.
So there's none here.
Okay, there you go. All right, come on up.
Melissa Clark, real estate director for Rival. As long as you're addressing specifically our site, we're okay with that. The only thing that I would mention is that we are in discussions with the Chattanooga for a potential fire station. As they're on the topic, also expected to not that zoning is allowable.
Fire stations, I think it's R116. That was considered a public safety facility, and it should be allowed in that zone.
So if we are
Correct.
and then I saw something on the staff recommendation that said something about no liquor. That wouldn't fit in here. I didn't hear you read that, but there was something that said no liquor.
We would be noting because the proximity to the grace.
Yeah, we don't typically sell liquor in our community, but I just want to be prohibited.
No, don't meet the beer code. This is the farm. There's a church right across. Yeah.
Yeah, we checked on that. We think we're good as far as that goes. I just didn't want to be
On the stream, that's the only conditions we're recommending.
okay.
No animal care facilities out there areas, no hotels, no live entertainment, secondary uses, and nothing like that.
Yeah, as long as those things are in set up, I'll be fine. Any questions for us?
No questions for you. I think we've got somebody here in opposition. Are you
Okay.
here in opposition? Yeah.
Good afternoon, my name's Alan Falk. I work at 2115 Northern Drive. I'm here today to speak on behalf of those association regarding the case. We only recently received notice of this case month. We were unable to hear officially residents until yesterday. Anyway, we discussed the state of information that we have. Our residents reached a consensus that we only oppose the rezoning of that one to residential parcels, which includes commercial. I submitted a 3-page letter last night. One, with our concerns on the future of the new data. We understand that the corner parcel is already zoned CC and commits to gas station. Our opposition is not to the existing commercial corner zoning. Concern is the expansion of commercial zoning deeper into what is currently designated suburban residential in the area of concern. I also want to share that concern is not limited to Great Forest. I've personally been in contact with leadership in the villages of Ashwood, retirement community, Ashwood single family neighborhood, One Point retirement home, and Ghost Baptist Church. Each of these communities express similar concerns regarding traffic and noise, lighting, and long-term commercial streets in the residential areas. Many of them under the consent today's hearing, they all agreed with the position of those shared and supported. First, rezoning the road to residential buffer that RM2 currently provides. It increases the likelihood that the adjacent residential parts will eventually be rezoned commercial as well. That is not the development pattern that community support. We want to preserve single-family residential use in the area. Second, traffic. California Jenkins is already a serious issue. Traffic frequently backs up as we integrate forest and residential safely. The great traffic search and school reopening conditions and university. Expanding commercial zoning and adding a car wash to intensify congestion and turning movement in already extreme conditions. Third, light and noise pollution is a concern. 24-hour day gas stations combined with a car wash introduce continuous lighting and mechanical noise in their quiet residential settings. As incompatible with character of the neighborhood, accordingly, we respectfully request denial of the rezoning of the RMP parcels, limiting development for gas stations only limited in the existing CC zoning, no car wash, mandatory turning in the part of site plan approval as observed. And then protecting the residential parcels. Simply asking the residents to care for the residents preserve. Any questions? We're looking at rezoning to.
That's correct. Proportion size. That's not Plan Hamilton. Plan Chattanooga. It's called Plan Hamilton, but it's in City of Chattanooga. Plan, this area plan was not adopted by City Council by ordinance, it's by resolution, so it's a guide. There's no process.
Yes. We've got some questions for you.
Hi, Melissa. We've met over Zoom, but never in
Yeah.
person. Nice to meet you in person.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so a couple of questions for the community. Have you met with the community yet?
We have not. We would
Okay.
be glad to do that. We didn't know we had any opposition, obviously, last night. So,
Okay.
and I apologize on the sign. There was some miscommunication. We thought we had to pick it up on March 9th, not have it out on March.
Okay. So in regards to some of the concerns that they have, is the car wash open 24/7? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. No, we're only open.
Okay.
And then during the winter months, we actually close it for the holidays.
Okay. So and then the light pollution. I'm sure you've worked with neighborhoods in the past where you're able to address that.
We'll also provide a plan that shows that our lighting does.
And then what about buffers?
We already showed those on our contract.
I thought I saw those. Okay. Sir, I apologize, I don't remember your name, but if the applicant were to host a community meeting that addresses some of the issues and I don't know if you all knew at the time that it was going to be a Weigels. Did you all know that's what it was going to be?
No, honestly, when we saw the posting and the sign, we were making calls and stuff. And so we couldn't even access the phone. We should do that. We do looking to make meetings. I was in the area. Again, I talked to the other community yesterday in the area. Quite the community. At least from our perspective, what we think that obviously everyone seems to be done for years.
Mm-hmm.
That one stop.
Okay.
And then I don't know, I heard him say that all that.
Right. I'm just wondering if if they had a community meeting that addressed some of the issues, and you may all have some others that I'm sure they've dealt with it in other communities, I would make a motion to defer for 30 days to allow Weigels to meet with the community to address their concerns.
Second. We have a motion to defer for 30 days, and it's been properly seconded. Any discussion?
We completed our go ahead and submit that and let them work through it. That way the community meeting is the rest as far as the practice that it goes.
Yeah, I don't, that's, you want to,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue.
Okay.
You go ahead and submit that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Schultz?
These two next text amendments, there are two text amendments. Both of these are the city of Lakeside, at their request. First one is dealing with what we did here a couple months ago in the city of Chattanooga in regards to vested rights. They're doing the same thing to change from approved to submitted for vested rights. That's the first change. The second change is to their existing R3 zone. They're amending some of the uses in that zone, changing them from permitted by right to uses by special exceptions permit, and adding some landscape requirements. The staff recommend on behalf of the City of Lakeside to approve these two text amendments.
Good. We have these two motions on our agenda, and we have these two resolutions. We have a motion to approve, and that's been properly seconded. There is no opposition. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Staff update.
So I'll turn it over to Karen and staff updates.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, we're here last month and kind of laid out some, kind of a path to zoning regulation amendments in the county to implement some portions of Plan Hamilton, the robust plan, so it's kind of a starting point. Today we've got two draft documents, and for your reviews, it's a popular walk through those with the idea of putting them on the agenda ready for us to use the work. So you have a handout, it's actually in front of you, it's on the dais. And I've talked about the community member. But I'm just going to start and kind of talk through how we ended up in the draft resolutions in there. So the first item, I can just skip the first page and move quickly. The first item is the rural corridor overlay. And so the second page here says rural corridor. It mentions that the purpose of the rural corridor overlay is primarily to address new subdivision development. And then there are 3 development standards there. So it does note that the development standards about future development be codified and or inform zoning conditions. RPA and Hamilton County staff met, but felt the first 2 to move towards the standards, and the third to be the zoning conditions that we wanted to make sure we get some good statements, and also many of our rural corridors are staked out. So if we turn to the next page, you see a draft regulation, drafted resolution to add a rural corridor overlay. So Plan Hamilton has a map of rural corridors. It describes what those look like. And so this just codifies that. So it mentions the intent is to address new subdivision development. It applies to new major subdivisions of commercial and residential property. Looking through to the next page. I want to point out that it is, and to read a statement because I think it's important, an existing or future agricultural use in property not going through the major subdivision process and meeting kind of a cumulative conformity is not required to implement these property setback standards. During Plan Hamilton, we were fortunate to hear for many people involved in agriculture and farming, and we said this did not apply to them. We were not requiring farms to put these border standards in place. So we also put that in the regulation to be really clear, and I wanted to point that out. So the development standards are pretty much a cut and paste, pretty simple. Again, moving the language for Plan Hamilton to 50-foot setback language for any structure from existing roadways. That also includes water quality features. We do have an exception for subdivision entrance signs And so one of the things we talked about last month, where if at all possible to make it easier for permitting, that we would use language already in the county zoning definition, just to rely on that to create a new standard that might cause additional conflict. So just referencing the subdivision standard signs could be in the stuffer, but you have to meet all the requirements that are already in the zoning regulations. And then a 30-foot type A landscape buffer is required along the entire frontage of the existing roadway, except for ingress and egress. And then as part of this, we'll have a map. We would probably prefer not to have a legal description, but we can put that not out because someone will be looking at the map to see if it applies to the property. And then just noting that then if there's a conflict with other language in the zoning regulations, some more stringent standards apply. So that is the rural corridor overlay, and that was intended to really reinforce the kind of the special character nature of some of our corridors, just to make sure that it still has that feel of that kind of that real character when we're on those corridors. And so I'm happy to answer, and it might be easy to answer questions as we go through. I'm happy to answer any questions and talk about these.
Are there any questions? I just wanted to add, I appreciate the work that Karen and Brian have done on this. It's very comprehensive, and I think it accomplishes the purpose of this. You know, a lot of these standards were things that had a lot of agreement through the process of Plan Hamilton. Obviously, Plan Hamilton was divisive, but a lot of the buffering and setback requirements, I think, are a really good step in the right direction, and something that more than 6 commissioners hopefully will be able to get on board with. And I hope that this body will follow suit as well and adopt these things. I'm sure there will be discussion on some of the individual items, but I really do believe that this is a step in the right direction. The rural corridor especially will help us preserve those larger thoroughfare roadways that you'll continue to see more and more traffic over. Let's process more. We're going to review this today. The resolution.
Yeah, maybe I could do the next one, and then we can talk, because there's one that, there's kind of two that are similar and one a little different. So the second, if there's no more questions on that one, that was the simplest one. First, the second is a countryside residential overlay. And I'm going to read the definition on your cover sheet, the purpose of an overlay. An overlay zone is a zoning district which is applied over one or more previously established zoning districts, establishing additional and stricter standards and criteria for covered property in addition to those of the underlying zoning district. And so last month we talked about maybe some amendments to zones, but then in just reviewing about the best way to implement the countryside residential, we felt that the overlay is the best approach. One, we just introduced the overlay with the rural corridor, so we've added that new tool that sits on top of zoning. The second one is countryside residential overlay. It has a map tied to it. That map is the map of countryside residential property in Plan Hamilton, and there are lots of zones that are going to be sitting under this overlay. And so instead of amending each of the zones, we thought the overlay sitting on top is a clear way to manage this kind of special character. And so Nathan just mentioned areas of lots of agreement. So in your packet, the next thing I'm directed to is the countryside residential description. So that does talk about some density. This amendment does not address density. That's will be for future discussion. But you'll see on, it does mention development standards. There's buffer and setback from right-of-way, perimeter buffer, floodplains, and steep slopes. And so the next page is taking those items, and there's, again, lots of discussion about these development standards. And then there's a chart, starting with this way. Sorry, one day I'll remember to number pages to make it more helpful when I speak with you. I'm sorry. And so we took each of those items that were in a place type description for development standards, and we drafted zoning standards. So again, these will be in the overlay. So requiring a 30-foot wide planted landscape buffer from existing right-of-way. We have that as a 30-foot type A. 30-foot screen, which is identified screen option, and the zoning regulations. If you have woodlands, we don't want you to chop down all the woodlands and plant new stuff. So the existing woodlands language is in there to let that, it can be can count towards a requirement. We understand there can be access and utility lines, again, following policies already in the zoning regulations. We are noting that buffer area is included when you think about that calculation for density requirement. It does include that buffer area. And just note the buffer area should not be used for any building use, accessory building use, parking, loading, storage. So really trying to be clear. Talked about that could be a definition, but instead we did it as standards to be clear of what's happening in that 30-foot buffer from the existing right of way. And if you remember, even before Plan Hamilton, one of the solutions for development on Slow Hill Road during the Wolf-Beaver plan was to have a 30-foot wide buffer, landscape buffer. Again, a little bit more buffering to make sure we have that rural corridor feel before transitioning to some development. The next item, there's 4 sections, and go through them. I can stop and answer questions after that. One of the next standards in the plan was for exterior street-facing garages. Garage doors must be set back 20 feet from the right-of-way. Well, we've already said you have to be 30 feet from the right-of-way, so we don't want anything in that 20 feet. So we felt that did not apply and don't address that. Next page, around the perimeter, planting 2-inch caliber trees around the entire perimeter of the development, minimum of 30. That's probably supposed to be 30 inches. I believe that's my typo on center. 30 inches or 30 feet. I need to get that.
I believe the amendment passed in Plan Hamilton for 32.
Okay, great. I did. It did. I'm sorry. It just second guessed myself. That makes sense. More sense anyway. And then existing vegetation is equivalent to a greater. The existing vegetation would count. So we moved the minimum caliper 2-inch caliper trees over. We did minimum instead of 2-inch. And then if the standard placement's impractical, then trees should be installed as close to spacing as possible. We felt like the perimeter of the development there would be areas where it might not be, you might have to group them a little bit more if there was a floodway, for instance. And then the perimeter shall be determined as that property identified as being platted on farming plat. And then behind said buffer, there was some additional language. The zoning regulations already have required building setbacks. We felt that was redundant and not, there wasn't any difference. So, 2 other sections, again, Plan Hamilton mentioned floodplains, and that they could be, currently floodplains can be filled. This restricts filling of floodplains. We received little guidance from our county partners. This is just specific to countryside residential, so we're not addressing regulation. And then lastly, adopt the steep slope vegetation policy and planning requirements. This is reference to the City of Chattanooga steep slope vegetative policy, and so that language was added. Any questions about, before we kind of look about how that language looks in a draft resolution, is there any questions about any of that language or suggestions, comments? Yes. Type A screening is in the landscape ordinance, the landscape regulations, so the Hamilton County landscape regulations and the zoning regulations. There's a whole section that describes what type A is. And that was one of the things that we have found over time. Using, it's not just describes what's happening there, how you replace trees. It's a robust section on how to do landscaping and buffering. And my only point was yes, so this will be in the zoning ordinance, and the type A landscape screen would be that type A landscape screen also in the zoning ordinance. But
It's intended to be an opaque screen.
But
evergreen trees.
To your point, I will. But I can certainly, it might be helpful in the whereas it's the resolution just to know that is referenced in the I'll be happy to do that.
I just wanted to add, because there's got a question too, but I just wanted to add that this doesn't change anybody's current density. And it also doesn't, it allows for I think a lot of good flexibility within that overlay. In other words, this sets some, this sets some good development requirements. But if for some reason at some point the county commission decides to change to adopt Plan Hamilton, or we decide to modify it or whatever, this doesn't add a layer of complexity. It's just adding some of those positive things like the buffering stuff.
Got lots of feedback. And those are tools that we have used in past conditions too. We've kind of got where we codified a condition for development on several roads with that buffer, because that would have been a policy from the prior plan. We just threw it over.
The only question I had is this for the most part, no more restrictive than what the actual plan says.
That's correct, and that's the intention of the table, is to cut and paste the language from Plan Hamilton to say this is what Plan Hamilton says, and this is how we're specifically addressing it. So, for instance, Plan Hamilton might say that you have to have a 30-foot wide 10-foot buffer from the right of way. Well, we know you have that in definition, right? So, there's some, that's the difference in going from a place plan to the.
Right, so the question you referred to City of Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Well,
that is specifically mentioned, and that's also why I wanted to show the countryside residential. This is this is a page from the plan in the bottom right section. And so that's intended to kind of show we have a plan, and this, and this is how we're doing it. So the seaside vegetative policy has a couple of weeks to go to the county. They tree steps, so there's a few tweaks. And it does indicate that for multi-family residential,
Well, I didn't find everything. It's close to that.
yes, and it is the revegetation. Yes, it is the vegetative policy.
Okay.
Yes, and
that was somewhat of a late addition. I don't know if you remember the discussion. It was kind of all over the place, but at county commission, when they passed the data resolution advising what they wanted, they had included that they wanted language from the Chattanooga Seacoast ordinance as well as the floodplain management.
And so we are trying to kind of show that through line of where this information came from, and then trying to be clear, like we will have utilities, how we're going to those, and language about if there is vegetation, to be clear, we don't want healthy native vegetation to work in the county. Okay, there's no questions. I'll move on to the third. And the third one's easier. In August to September of 2024, Planning Commission approved a new zone for the county to add in the PR Parks and Recreation District. And this is, I had to put the resort and recreation place type in here because we were trying to implement the plan. It was approved by Planning Commission, and County Commission put it on hold until Plan Hamilton was adopted, and there was lots of activity, so staff pulled back. So you have already acted on this, and there's been no changes since you've acted on it, so we are going to put it back on the agenda for next month. It would be a series 3, including this one, just to kind of, if someone's following along and wasn't sure where things were, just for transparency, to put it back on your agenda. And that would be our proposal to put these three items on the agenda next month.
And I would just add to that this new zone does a couple of really cool things. One is, I'm sure you're all aware that the county commission voted to transfer a portion of the Donald Farm to the state, to a new state park, the 70th state park. We're really excited about that opportunity. The portion of the farm that we are retaining, we think that there's a lot of economic development opportunity there. And this zone would actually help us do a lot of that kind of stuff instead of spot zoning the entire farm and having commercial and stuff way out in the middle of nowhere that doesn't make a lot of sense. This really allows us to sort of package it in a way that the public can do very well, but we can still do a lot of those economic development opportunities. This also, I think, allows for land preservation and economic development opportunities in other places in the county where you have a large tract of land sale. Somebody wants to preserve it in some sort of recreational economic development use instead of making it a subdivision, instead of making it something else. This allows for that preservation opportunity as opposed to just completely concrete and everything.
If there's any questions or anyone in the audience listening has a question, they can contact us after that talking about it. But otherwise, we'll do another review and make sure we don't see any conflicts. But otherwise, we'll do the form.
Yeah, I only have a question about the floodplain piece. It feels like that could be really difficult to. Feels like that'd be very difficult to understand. Not that I necessarily took issue with the idea, but I'm imagining where that I'm just curious, like if the engineers, have thought through how that would actually apply to property where that just seems so misleading.
I will speak to my perspective. We have talked about the wording and the language, and we've done a couple different diagrams, and so that will need probably a little bit more work.
To me, that if the objective is 60 out of 100, then it should be measured by square foot top. If you have 100 square feet, that's that seems easier than 100 feet from
in
the body of water that's producing floodplain, because floodplain can go really long distance.
Right. I think we think it's the length from the water body is probably not the right language.
Yeah,
and
that may not even be on the
right. And so we have reached out and we have gotten a kind of an opinion with some ideas on that. And I'll defer to Nathan because I know his staff is working on it too. But yes, that will need a little bit more.
I could draw it for you better than I could articulate it, but I'll take a shot at articulating it. The idea is that you'd have some flexibility to fill in floodplain that's not helpful, and you would be less likely to fill in floodplain that is helpful. So when you have a floodplain, hardly ever is a straight line. It usually winds in and out of contours. Some of that floodplain is very shallow and doesn't actually hold much water, or you've got a low spot where the water gets captured, but then it doesn't really flow back into the stream. And so this we're attempting to come up with some language that would allow some fill-in of less helpful floodplain, but not allow fill-in of helpful.
The problem is you just make a perfect view. And the floods are way more complicated than engineers. Like when you've had to do flood studies before. I've had to do them before. These are not we're not engineers. One point security doesn't use if there's some quantifiable engineer there's a regulation. how do we know that this stuff is getting the benefit?
Yeah, I would just say, that's good perspective. That's good perspective.
That's what we think. We can be able to know that.
I think the intent here, is that we don't have anything now. And so there is a political will. And so, and this point actually had even more support. I mean, there's probably 8 or 9 commissioners that support this. And so, I think the intent was to get something that may not be perfect the first go around. I think the staff was trying to make it as reasonable as possible and accomplish the goal as much as possible. But I think there is a desire to move forward with something, and then if we need to work on it over time, we can work on it.
Well, I just don't. That's why I'm asking. Like, if an engineer looks at it, can somebody just test it? And the engineer is actually there to develop with this standard for the team.
I think that
Here's the rules. Things to make how you.
But on our rundown table, there's like the plan management, just a little bit back to Barry's comment about are we being more restrictive than the plan says? I think the plan, those development standards with plan language, to get them codified into something that is in regulation form takes more work. And that's why I kind of said this is what the plan said, but to have it something that's actually enforceable and usable needs a little bit more work. And I think that might be the step. And Nathan spoke to our professionals in plan management and helping look at that and say, so what is that intent in language, and then how do we actually get that into it? And that's kind of what took us some time with all of that. And it's a little bit of why the plan amendment process is neat.
Can I ask one more question? Why would we do any of this if county commission hasn't? And why wouldn't we just call it back to? I'm not sure what would be involved with this. Why wouldn't we just pull it back to planning and do what we did? If the county commission's not been ratified,
The consensus that I've gotten is that these things have enough support to be codified by county commission, the entire plan.
And then also comment that we know we have to have things to have a comprehensive plan. We did not have a comprehensive plan for all of them incorporated counties. So it has given us guidance that we have been using. I think we're on, this is the 6 month. The plan was adopted in September by the commission. We're at 6 months and we've used it 12, 15 times to come up with recommendations. And so I think that there are good things in the plan, and we are trying to, Nathan, helps us understand which one should move forward. And so those are the ones before you now. I don't, we advertise more purposeful on the legal notice. They were talking about one of the county's zoning regulation, and then we're fortunate to have him here. We can have lots of handouts to take back, but, the intention is, people can let us know what they think about what we propose.
Any other questions? We do have time on the agenda for public comment.
Just to verify, are all these resolutions going to come to us next month to adopt?
That is the proposal, yes.
Okay, so if the resolutions specifically regarding like the floodplains and stuff like that,
That is not, no.
that would not be part of
There's
it.
3 in here. The one is the one that looks like an adopted resolution because you have adopted it. And there's 2 that are in draft resolution form. They do not mention it, but.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Ms. Helton, make sure that you comment on them.
Is this a non-agenda item?
Well, I don't know what it is. I mean, we're not looking for public comment from this.
Okay. Okay. I do have a public comment on.
This is on our agenda.
I do have a public comment on the minute. So we would like to see a little bit more in the minutes about what people are actually, the reasons they're opposed to development, instead of just Kim Helton spoke and her address, maybe something about why they were opposed to the actual case, and not just this person spoke. So that would be my comment on it.
Yes, Ms. Helton, according to Robert's Rules of Order 12th edition, that is not how minutes are supposed to be. They do not restate arguments from people, they state actions. So our minutes are appropriate the way they're written.
I've just seen them in, even in cities around in this county where they actually almost have a verbatim of what was said at the meeting.
We're governed by Robert's Rules of Order 12th edition, and that is not how it is in Robert's Rules of Order. I cannot speak to other cities.
Okay.
Can I get approval of the planning commission minutes, February minutes, consensus? All in favor, say aye. Just like to go on the record, that this was Mr. Anderson. Oh, wait.
It's actually pretty quick.
Yeah, Mr. Payne. No, motion to adjourn. Thank you.